Chapter 3288. It was the sacred mountain of the Ice Soul sacred ancestor. The 1,000-foot-high ice cliff was steep and slippery. Here on the ice cliff, there was a flight of stairs that led from the bottom of the cliff to the top. Here, this was the Ice Soul Holy Clan's heaven stairway. Any ordinary member of the Ice Soul Holy Clan would be able to enter the Ice Soul Holy Clan's holy palace to cultivate and become the Ice Soul Holy Clan's carefully nurtured seedlings. However, the stairway to heaven was very slippery, and every step was overflowing with cold air. Even cultivators could not bear it, let alone ordinary members of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan. Therefore, very few ordinary members of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan could reach the top. Many ordinary members of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan failed midway and froze to death or fell to their deaths. Here at this moment, a 12-year-old boy was using his hands and feet to climb to the top of the ice cliff with great difficulty. Young, his appearance was clearly not that of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan, but that of a human boy. He was the only one of his kind in the Ice Soul Sacred Clan. Young, his hair and eyebrows were covered in ice, his face was red, and his hands and feet were frozen. First along the way, the boy kept falling, but he kept getting up and continuing to climb. In the end, he could only use his hands and feet to climb step by step. I, Su Xianyun, must climb the stairway to heaven. Then my mother will let me cultivate and become a cultivator. The human boy looked at the endless ice cliff and gritted his teeth to continue climbing. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. More than a dozen Ice Soul Sacred Clan youths flew over on ice swords and hovered behind a human boy. Come and see. The peerless genius Su Xianyun is climbing the stairway to heaven like a dog. Didn't they say that he was born with the strength of a Daozu? Why can't he even enter the sacred temple? Why is he climbing the stairway to heaven? For a low-level race like the human race, it's very difficult to even become a cultivator. To be born with the strength of a Daozu? 10. Several Ice Soul Sacred Clan youths mocked and ridiculed the human boy. The human boy turned a deaf ear to them and continued climbing the ice cliff stubbornly. For the leader of the group was a youth from the Ice Soul Sacred Clan. He was only 15 years old, but his cultivation base wasn't weak. He was at the lower Dao Lord realm. He shouted coldly at the human youth, Su Xianyun, you're just a bastard who ended up in the Ice Soul Sacred Clan. If the Ice Soul Sacred Clan hadn't taken in your mother, how could there be a bastard like you? Lung Zitai, what did you say? The young man named Su Xianyun turned his head and glared at the young man from the Ice Soul Holy Clan. Lung Zitai looked at Su Xianyun and proudly said, I said you're just a bastard of the human race. If you have the ability, then come and beat me. Su Xianyun was not a cultivator. If he slid down the ladder, he would be smashed to pieces. How could he do anything to Lung Zitai? He could only clench his fists and gnash his teeth as he looked at Lung Zitai. Su Xianyun, do you still think you're the darling of the Ice Soul Holy Clan? In the past, even our clan's Daozu had to flatter you. When he fought with you when he was a child, not only did you break his leg, you even punished him when he went back. Now, you and your mother are about to be driven out of the Ice Soul Holy Clan. You're just a stray dog. We're going to collect all the debts you owe us. Humph, what genius. It's all bullshit. Otherwise, why didn't your mother teach you cultivation? Even if we don't kill him this time, we'll break his limbs. Behind Su Xianyun, more than a dozen young men from the Ice Soul Holy Clan ridiculed and cursed. Suddenly, the young man named Lung Zitai waved his sleeve and rolled out a cold wind that hit Su Xianyun. Su Xianyun was already about to be frozen, and he didn't have the slightest bit of cultivation. Being swept by the cold wind, he could no longer survive on the ladder and fell down the ice cliff. Lung Zitai shouted loudly, Someone come quickly! Su Xianyun failed to climb the ladder and fell down the ice cliff and died. The other young men from the Ice Soul Holy Clan also shouted loudly. Seeing that Su Xianyun was about to fall to the ground, suddenly a soft airflow firmly supported him, and his body gently landed on the ground. Su Xianyun was shocked and stunned. This Su Feng's figure slowly appeared from nothingness. He looked at Su Xianyun with gentle eyes and a smile on his face. Are you Su Xianyun? Seeing that Su Fong was obviously a cultivator of the human clan, Su Xianyun was stunned and forgot the danger he had just experienced. He asked, "Who are you?" "My name is Su Fong, and I'm your father." Su Fong looked at his son with excitement in his heart. "You're my father?" Su Xuanyun's eyes were filled with doubt and vigilance. He immediately snorted and said, "My mother said that my father was one of the top experts of the human race, a great hero of the world." "You don't look like a great hero at all." Su Fong touched his nose and smiled embarrassedly. "I'm indeed your father. If you don't believe me, take me to see your mother." "Don't worry." Su Xuanyun's eyes rolled, and he immediately pointed to the dozen or so youths of the Ice Soul Divine clan floating above and said, "I was almost killed by them just now. Since you're my father, avenge me and kill them all." Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Xuanqin was the adopted daughter of Ancestor Snow, and Su Xianyun was also the disciple of Ancestor Ice Soul. How could those youths of the Ice Soul Divine clan dare to humiliate him like this? Su Fong transmitted his divine thought. "Xuanqin, come out." A figure slowly emerged from the ice cliff. It was Xuanqin. Originally, Xuanqin was hiding on the ice cliff. Even if Su Fong didn't do anything, Su Xianyun would be fine. "You still know to come to see your son?" Xuanqin looked at Su Fong and said in a faint voice. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. "Xuanqin, why didn't you let our son cultivate? And why would he be bullied like this in the Ice Soul Divine clan? He even almost died just now." He explained to Su Fong in his heart. It turned out that Xuanqin wanted his son to inherit Su Fong's cultivation, so he didn't let Su Xianyun cultivate. As a result, Su Xianyun, who was talented and strong, was still an ordinary person. In addition, Xuanqin didn't want Su Xianyun to be like those disciples of big factions, so he deliberately let Su Xianyun play with the other youths of the Ice Soul Divine clan. He didn't give him any special treatment. Even more so, he even encouraged Su Xianyun to climb the sky stairway to sharpen his mind. Su Xianyun was the disciple of Ancestor Ice Soul. Although Ancestor Ice Soul didn't teach him cultivation, Su Xuanyun's status in the Ice Soul Divine clan was unparalleled. In the past, not even the three Daozu dared to touch him, let alone the other youths. However, since half a year ago, there had been rumors that Su Fong had offended the Qinyuan race and the Tensei people and would be killed by the two higher races sooner or later. The Qinyuan race and the Tensei people also sent strong masters to force Ancestor Ice Soul to leave Xuanqin and Su Xianyun. Xuanqin's status and treatment didn't change much, but Su Xianyun began to be neglected. The youths who had been bullied by him took the opportunity to take revenge. Xuanqin had seen it all. In order to let Su Xianyun experience the coldness of the world and sharpen his mind, he pretended not to know. "I didn't expect the Qinyuan race and the Tensei people to do something to Xuanqin and his son. It seems that Ancestor Ice Soul has to abandon them for the sake of the Ice Soul Divine clan. Fortunately, I came in time." Su Fong immediately understood. Although Ancestor Ice Soul had helped him time and time again, he had to think about the entire Ice Soul Divine clan. Although he wouldn't drive Xuanqin and his son out of the clan, he had to distance himself from them. Perhaps Ancestor Ice Soul had deliberately leaked the rumors so that Su Fong would know and take Xuanqin and Su Xianyun away, so that both sides wouldn't be embarrassed. Su Fong didn't do anything wrong for the sake of Ancestor Ice Soul and the Ice Soul Divine clan. "How can I allow outsiders to bully my Dao partner and son? I'm here to bring you back to the Leisha original realm. I've been waiting for your arrival for a long time." "Su Fong, is it true that the Tensei people and the Qinyuan race want to deal with you and the human race?" "It doesn't matter. The Tensei people and the Qinyuan race can't suppress me, Su Fong. I'll use my hands to fight for the human race and for my son. I'll kill whoever stands in my way, including the Tensei people and the Qinyuan race." Su Fong showed a domineering aura. Then he saw Su Xianyun, who was almost frozen, and Su Fong felt distressed. "Xuanqin, you just watched your son suffer. Are you still his mother?" Xian Xian smiled. "Do you think I don't feel distressed? An unpolished jade won't become anything good. It's good for him to suffer more." However, Su Xianyun hid behind her, pointed at Su Fong, and shouted, "Mother, this person is a bad person. How dare he pretend to be my father?" Xuanxin couldn't help laughing. He touched Su Xuanyun's head and said, "Xianyun, don't talk nonsense. He is your father, Su Fong." "He's my father? I don't believe it." Su Xianyun looked at Su Fong and shook his head. Su Fong smiled bitterly and said, "How can you believe it?" Su Xianyun said, "Just now Lung Zitai and the others bullied me and almost killed me. Since you are my father, you should stand up for me and kill them all." Su Fong raised his eyebrows. "Kill them all?" Su Xianyun said, "Forget it. I'll let them live for the time being. While I become a cultivator, I will beat them with my fists. But I have to vent my anger. First, help me spank their butts." Xuanqing couldn't help but laugh. Su Fong nodded and said, "That's how my son should be. If there's a grudge, then there's a grudge. 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 If there's a grudge, then there's a grudge." After that, Su Fong waved his hand and grabbed in the air. Then more than a dozen youths of the Ice Soul Holy Clan saw Xuanqing appear and ran away, but it was difficult for them to escape from Su Fong's hands. Swish! Swish! 10 a few youths were directly caught by Su Fong and landed in front of Su Xianyun. "Son, I'll help you vent your anger." Su Fong laughed and waved his hand, sending out more than a dozen palm prints, which landed solidly on the butts of those youths. Su Fong wouldn't really do it. The youths of the Ice Soul Holy Clan screamed in pain, but they were all just flesh wounds. Su Fong Xuanyun was very happy. He nodded to Su Fong and said, "That's more like my father. But if you want to be my father, you still need to be tested slowly. Today, you passed the first test." Su Fong and Xuanqing both burst into laughter. Chapter 3289. Suddenly, Su Fong raised his eyebrows and looked at the sky above the ice cliff. "Xuanqing, you bitch! How dare you bully my son?" A thunderous, furious roar was transmitted over. Immediately, a figure broke through the air and appeared. It was a man in his 20s. His body seemed to be made of ice and snow. His face was handsome, his eyes were cold and sharp, and his eyebrows were like swords. He had an overbearing appearance. It was actually a former acquaintance of Su Fong, the elder of Shengling Palace, Lung Lingfeng. "Su Xianyun, you're finished. My father is here. Not only you, but even your parents will be in trouble." The youth named Lung Zitai sneered proudly. It turned out that he was Lung Lingfeng's son. "Son, don't be afraid. Father will skin whoever dares to bully you." Lung Lingfeng shouted domineeringly. Then he flew down the cliff. He said coldly to Xuanqing, "Xuanqing, do you think that no one dares to provoke you like before? You're about to be driven out of the Ice Soul Holy Clan, but you still dare to be so arrogant. You even dare to bully my son." "Ah, Su Fong." At first, Lung Lingfeng still had an arrogant and insufferably arrogant appearance. Who knew that when he saw Su Fong, his voice suddenly stopped, and his body began to tremble uncontrollably. "I didn't bully your son, but your son bullied my son Su Xianyun and even tried to kill him," Su Fong said indifferently, his cold eyes sweeping over Lung Zitai. Then he smiled domineeringly. "Besides, even if I bullied your son, so what? Su Fong, please spare my life." Lung Lingfeng's monstrous ferocity suddenly disappeared. He quickly knelt down to Su Fong and begged for mercy. Lung Zitai and the other youths were stunned. Su Fong Xuanyun was also shocked and surprised. He asked Xuanqing in disbelief, "Mother, father is so powerful that even Lung Zitai's father is so afraid of him?" Xuanqing touched Su Xuanyun's head and said proudly, "Mother once told you that your father is a peerless hero. Killing Daozu is like killing a chicken. Who isn't afraid of him?" "Killing Daozu is like killing a chicken?" Su Xianyun was shocked, and the way he looked at Su Fong suddenly became incomparably hale and hearty, full of reverence. Lung Lingfeng pulled his son Lung Zitai and kowtowed to Su. He offended Su Fong people. "I beg you to let him off this time, because he is young. I'm willing to bear all the blame for him." Scram! Su Fong waved his hand. It was his first time meeting his son, so naturally, he wouldn't let other things affect his mood. Moreover, the current Lung Ling Feng was an ant-like existence in Su Fang's eyes. Why would he take such a character to heart? Lung Ling Feng felt as if he had been pardoned. Suddenly, Su Fang raised his eyebrows and looked up at the sky. His eyes were frozen. Lung Ling Feng thought that Su Fang had changed his mind. He was so scared that his whole body trembled. Whoosh! More than 10 cultivators slowly flew over. Among them, there were more than 10 cultivators from the Eternal Race and Qinyuan race. Su Fang had already sensed the arrival of these cultivators. The two leading experts were from the Qinyuan clan and the Tensei people. They were the top experts of Daozu, and their auras were extremely powerful. They were at least at the 9th level of Daozu. Ancestor Snow, Saint Ling Daozu, and Saint Soul Daozu, the 3 Daozu experts of the Ice Soul Divine Clan, accompanied the 2 top experts of Daozu. They were all expressionless. More than 20 cultivators flew over and stood with their hands behind their backs above Su Fang. When Lung Ling Feng saw the experts from the Tensei people and the Qinyuan clan, his courage was boosted. In his opinion, even if Su Fang had the strength to kill the Daozu, how could he deal with so many experts from the Qinyuan clan and the Tensei people? Seeing that Su Fang couldn't even protect himself, Lung Ling Feng wasn't afraid of him. Killing the Daozu like killing chickens? Lung Ling Feng sneered in his heart. Let's see how you kill these Daozu this time. Buzz! Ancestor Soul's voice suddenly sounded in Su Fang's mind. Su Fang, don't blame me. The Tensei people and the Qinyuan clan have joined forces to pressure me. I can't do anything about it. After all, the Ice Soul Divine Clan can't afford to offend these 2 higher races. I can only trouble Xuanxin and Su Xinyan. Su Fang replied, I understand. Ancestor Soul's meaning was clear. In order to protect the Ice Soul Divine Clan, he had to force Xuanxin and Su Xinyan to leave the Ice Soul Divine Clan. Although Su Fang understood Ancestor Ice Soul's difficulties, his relationship with the Ice Soul Divine Clan had to end here. At least, it wouldn't be like before. Ice Ancestor Soul continued. These 2 elders from the Qinyuan clan and the Tensei people have been in the Ice Soul Divine Clan for some time now. I've been holding them back. Now that you're here, I'll give them to you so you can vent your anger. Thank you, Senior. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly and looked at the 2 experts at the peak of the Tao Ancestor realm. His deep eyes exuded coldness. Ancestor Ice Soul was clearly angry at being forced to leave by the Tensei people and the Qinyuan clan. However, he couldn't do anything to the cultivators from the 2 clans, so he sent them to Su Fang to die. Then, the Tensei people's first elder was an old man with white eyebrows. He looked down at Xuanxin and Su Xinyan and said indifferently, Are they Su Fang's Dao partner and son? Su Fang didn't try to hide anything, but after reaching the 8th level of the Jiushuan's Wuji Sutra, his aura had become even more ethereal, as if he'd merged with the heavenly Dao. The Tensei people and Qinyuan cultivators didn't recognize him. They thought he was just an ordinary human cultivator. Snow Ancestor Soul, Shengling Daozu, and Shengling Daozu had clearly received instructions from Ancestor Ice Soul in advance and didn't say anything. Here, under Daozu's pressure, Xuanxin and Su Xinyan trembled. Su Xinyan was pale with fright. Xuanxin held him in his arms and then looked at the old man with white eyebrows. He answered in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. Yes, I'm Su Fang's Dao partner. This is my son. I didn't expect there to be such a good seedling among the ants of the human race. The middle-aged man from the Qinyuan clan looked at Su Xinyan with divine light and then sighed. Little did he know then, he changed the topic and said with an embarrassed smile, It's a pity to kill such a genius seedling. The old man with white eyebrows laughed and said, Why don't we take him back and use him as a slave? If we train him carefully, he'll be a powerful expert in the future. The middle-aged man from the Qinyuan clan smiled and said, He's just an ant. It's not worth the effort. Just kill him. The 2 Tensei people and Qinyuan cultivators pointed at Su Xinyan and didn't put anyone in their eyes. Ancestor Snow and the other experts from the Ice Soul Divine clan looked at Su Fong and then at the two cultivators. Everyone sighed and sympathized with them. Su Fong suddenly looked at Su Xianyun and said, "Yin'er, do you see that? Without strength, you're just an ant. Your fate and life will be controlled by others. If you want to control your own fate and future, you can only rely on strength." Su Xianyun said, "I see, Father. I understand now." Su Fong nodded and smiled, then said, "In the chaos, strength is the most important thing. Now, I'll show you that with supreme strength, you can control the life and death of others." "Who are you? How dare you talk nonsense in front of me?" The middle-aged man from the Qianyuan clan only noticed Su Fong now and shouted coldly. When he saw Su Fong's face, his divine light changed instantly. He staggered and almost fell from the sky. You're Su Fong. You're just an ant. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me, Su Fong? You want to kill my Tao partner and son? Suppress them all." Su Fong showed the power of a peerless overlord. His powerful will suddenly rose and enveloped all the cultivators from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people. At Su Fong's will attack, the Tao hearts of more than 10 cultivators from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people were shaken. They could no longer stay in the sky and fell to the ground one after another. The white-haired old man from the Tensei people and the middle-aged man from the Qianyuan clan were extraordinary. They withstood Su Fong's will attack and were about to escape. "Pa! Pa!" Soul flames suddenly jumped in Su Fong's eyes. "Pa!" The fiery light shrouded the two mighty ones. The overbearing and powerful power of the soul tore their souls from their bodies and sucked them into Su Fong's holy Ji palace. The lamp of longevity burned and refined their souls into pure power of the soul. "Pa!" Their corpses fell to the ground from the sky and died just like that. Then, Su Fong released a thought from his glabella. It condensed into streaks of slaughter sword chi that shot towards the cultivators from the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. After a series of screams, except for the two cultivators, all the other cultivators were killed by Su Fong. "Pa!" In just a moment, two peak Tao Lords who had reached the limit of Tao Lords above the 9th level and more than 10 powerful cultivators were annihilated. Su Fong's current strength was so powerful. Patriarch Snow, Tao Father Saint Soaring, and Tao Father Saint Soul, the 3 Tao Fathers of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan, were all stunned and awed. Lung Lingfeng couldn't help but tremble. His eyes were filled with respect and fear. His son, Lung Zitai, was so scared that he wet his pants. The other youths from the Ice Soul Sacred Clan were also trembling in fear. "This is my father. Killing Daozu is as easy as killing a chicken. When I grow up, I want to be a peerless cultivator like my father." Su Xianyun looked at Su Fong with an incomparably hearty gaze. In addition to shock, there was also incomparable respect. "Go back and tell the immortal realm cultivators of your two clans that Xuanxin and Su Fong have nothing to do with the Ice Soul Sacred Clan anymore. If they want to deal with me, they can come to me directly. However, the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people had better consider the consequences." Su Fong snorted and waved his sleeve, sending the two survivors flying. Ancestor Snow and the other cultivators of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan flew down the ice cliff and cupped their fists respectfully to Su Fong. Su Fong nodded slightly and looked at Su Xianyun. Seeing the latter's eyes, he smiled embarrassedly. "Su Xianyun, can you prove that I'm your father now?" Su Xianyun nodded repeatedly like a chicken pecking rice. Su Fong chuckled. "You recognize me as your father because I'm strong. If I were an ordinary person without any strength, wouldn't you recognize me?" Su Xianyun answered, "If you were an ordinary person without any strength, you would always be my father. When I grow up, I'll protect you and my mother, as expected of my Su Fong's son." Ha ha ha. Chapter 3290. He came to the depths of Ice Soul Sanctuary. Su Fong stood in the snow with his hands behind his back. After a while, Snow the flowers rolled, and Ancestor Ice Soul's figure quickly condensed. "I'm really sorry, Su Fong." Ancestor Ice Soul stared at Su Fong and smiled helplessly. "It's not your fault. Su Fong smiled faintly. Then he asked, "Excuse me, is there any news from the Eternal Shrine?" Ancestor Ice Soul nodded. "Yes, the Tensei people, the Qinyuan race, and the undying of the 12 races have joined forces and proposed to the Eternal Shrine to deprive the Reizeigu people of all their rights in the Eternal Shrine. We're just waiting for the undying to make the final decision." The Eternal Shrine was an organization jointly established by the undying. If there was an irreconcilable dispute or conflict between the 10,000 races in the chaos, the undying of the Eternal Shrine would jointly adjudicate it. Heaven the Universe race and the Qianyuan race were both high races in the chaos, and there were nearly 20 undying of the two races in total. Then including the undying of the two races and the 12 races that Su Fong had offended, their power in the Eternal Shrine was naturally shocking. Su Fong asked, "When will the Eternal Shrine make the final decision?" It's not easy to push the Eternal Shrine to make a decision. It'll take a lot of time just to gather the undying of the 10,000 races in the chaos. However, it won't take too long. In another 100,000 years, the Eternal Shrine will make the final decision. At that time, unless the 3 supreme royal races show up, no one can change the decision of the many undying. Great Supreme Royal Race? Su Fong didn't know much about the chaos and the Eternal Shrine, so it was the first time he heard of the 3 supreme royal races. Among the races in the chaos, there are 3 races that can be called the supreme royal races. They are superior to higher races like the Qianyuan race and the Eternal race. However, the 3 supreme royal races usually don't interfere with the affairs of other races. They're above the 10,000 races, so the Reizeigu people's affairs won't alarm them. It seems like the Eternal Shrine is destined to deprive the Reizeigu people of all their rights. Then, the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan will be able to deal with me as they wish. Ancestor Ice Soul sighed. Things are worse than you think. According to what I've heard, the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people not only want to deprive the Reizeigu people of all their rights in the Eternal Shrine, but they're also contacting other mortals to seal the Luai's original sector. Su Fong sneered. So what if the Luai's original realm is sealed? The human race can still survive and reproduce in the Luai's original realm. Ancestor Ice Soul shook his head and said, "This is not an ordinary seal, but a complete severing of the connection between the Thunder Lock original realm and the outside world, and even the heavenly Tao. In this way, the Thunderlock original realm will gradually dry up and eventually be trapped to death. Are the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan really that powerful?" The Luai's original sector was an independent space-time created by the heavenly Tao. It was easy for the immortals of the 2 clans to isolate the Luai's original sector from the chaos. However, it was not easy to completely isolate the Luai's original sector from the heavenly Tao. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan may not be able to do it, but if the 12 clans and the immortals on good terms with the 2 clans work together, it's entirely possible. Su Fong realized the severity of the situation, which was far beyond his imagination. He felt as if a storm was coming, and the immense pressure almost suffocated him. The Luai's original sector depriving all rights, and even sealing the Luai's original sector would certainly affect the future of the human race, but it would not cause the extinction of the human race. If what Ancestor Isoul said was true, the human race would really be in danger. The Luai's original sector. The Luai's original sector would eventually become a wasteland due to the exhaustion of the spiritual qi and the inability to practice cultivation. Ancestor Ice Soul looked at Su Fong and said apologetically, "Su Fong, I can't help you. I'm really sorry. Senior, don't blame yourself. Besides, we're not at the end of the road yet." Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and then bid farewell to Ancestor Ice Soul. After releasing the Luai's original sector origin, the Gate of Heaven appeared in the air. Su Fong flashed into the Gate of Heaven and returned to the Luai's original sector. He brought Xuanxin and Su Xinyun directly to the space-time where Su Yaotian and the other elders lived. Su Yao Tian, Xian Yin Tian, Xian Lingzi, and the other elders were all very excited. They treated Su Xianyuan like a precious treasure and circled around him. Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan, you're using your power to suppress me. How can I let you do as you wish? Even if you are the heavens, I, Su Fong, will go against the heavens. Seeing the happy and harmonious appearance of the family, Su Fong's desire to become stronger became even more resolute. Su Fong left the space-time. Lord Realm Spirit, please send me to the heavenly tree race. Su Fong then asked Realm Spirit to use the Luai's original sector to teleport him to the heavenly tree race. With the two upper races, it wasn't difficult for them to find out that Goddess Luo was in the heavenly tree race. Since the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan had attacked Xuanxin and his son, they definitely wouldn't let Goddess Luo go. Asterisk deep in the chaos. A divine tree took root in the chaos. It spread out countless branches and opened up a dimension. There was a green barrier around the divine tree. In the inner space of the divine tree, there were countless leaves growing on the branches. Each leaf was a mystic world where hundreds of millions of alien race beings lived. This is the heavenly tree of the heavenly tree race? Su Fong was shocked when he saw such a magnificent heavenly tree. He couldn't help but admire the wonders of the chaos. Then he carefully sensed. He discovered that the heavenly tree that propped up the entire dimension exuded astonishing wood-type essence and life energy. It also contained an intense, eternal, and immortal energy. This heavenly tree was actually a primordial spiritual item born from the chaos. It was even more powerful than ordinary primordial heavenly treasures. However, its main ability was not to attack, but to nurture and nourish. At the same time, Su Fong sensed Goddess Luo's destiny energy from within the heavenly tree and immediately felt reassured. The heavenly tree race has a primordial spiritual item like this, and the precious tree mother has a primordial heavenly treasure. No wonder the heavenly tree race doesn't have any immortal experts. Even the upper races don't dare to target them. In his shock, Su Fong dismissed the idea of entering the heavenly tree race. His relationship with the precious tree mother was purely a transaction. Renai transaction was built on the basis that both sides were equal in strength. With previously, the precious tree mother wanted to suppress him and hand him over to the Tensei people. Later, she was intimidated by Su Fong's strength and changed her mind. Now, facing the pressure of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race, and even an immortal expert would appear. Whether the precious tree mother would attack Su Fong like last time, Su Fong didn't dare to be sure. Entering the heavenly tree space now was the same as walking into a trap. Once he clashed with the precious tree mother, it would definitely be disadvantageous for Su Fong. I hope the precious tree mother won't do anything stupid. Su Fong inexplicably snorted. He then released a thought and flew toward the heavenly tree boundary. Just as he approached the boundary, a divine light flashed. Hundreds of wills appeared from the boundary and turned into the figures of the heavenly tree race cultivators. One of the heavenly tree race cultivators coldly shouted at Su Fong's thought. "Who are you? What business do you have with the heavenly tree race?" Su Fong released the powerful will of a peak Daozu powerhouse and said in a majestic voice, "Human Su Fong requests the precious tree mother to come out and meet me." Under the pressure of Su Fong's will, the heavenly tree race cultivators all trembled, and some of the wills directly dissipated. Su Fong, the leader of the heavenly tree race cultivators, looked at Su Fong in shock. He then said politely, "Please wait a moment. Allow this one to report to the Divine Mother." After half an incense stick's worth of time, a divine light flashed from the boundary outside the heavenly tree and turned into the figure of the precious tree mother. Her figure then flashed and appeared in front of Su Fong. Bao, the heavenly tree mother, indifferently asked, "Su Fong, why have you personally come to the heavenly tree race?" Su Fong said, "Divine Mother should know why I have come to the heavenly tree race. Please send the heavenly daughter out, and this one will take her back." The precious tree godmother coldly said, "The heavenly daughter is my disciple. Her future will naturally be decided by me. So why would I hand her over to you?" Su Fang's heart sank, realizing that something had happened. His eyes instantly froze, and his tone became impolite. "Although the holy maiden is your disciple, she's also my Tao companion. I want to take her away, but the divine mother doesn't want me to. Is there something else?" The heavenly tree mother indifferently snorted. "Since you already understand, this one will get straight to the point. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan's immortal powerhouses have personally sent this one a decree, asking this one to shackle the heavenly daughter and wait for the powerhouses of the two clans to come and take her away. If this one gives the heavenly daughter to you now, the heavenly tree race will suffer a calamity." Su Fang coldly shouted, "The heavenly daughter is your disciple. Are you going to give your disciple to the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan just like this?" The heavenly tree mother said, "For the heavenly tree race, I can only wrong the heavenly daughter. If you want to give the heavenly daughter to the two clans, then you have to see if I, Su Fang, agree. If you hand over the heavenly daughter now, I will owe the heavenly tree race a favor. Once I obtain the inheritance of the Luai's original realm, I will give the Luai's Thunder Vine to you as repayment." Luai's Thunder Vine? That is something this one needs to become immortal. Of course, this one wants it. However, even if you obtain the inheritance of the Luai's original realm and fuse with it to leave the sealed Luai's original realm, even if this one obtains the Luai's Thunder Vine, the heavenly tree race will be destroyed by the two higher races. So what's the point? Su Fang, I'm sorry, but this one cannot give the heavenly daughter to you. Go. This one will not make things difficult for you. Not make things difficult for me. Su Fang awkwardly smiled, then became aggressive. "If you don't hand over the heavenly daughter, I will have to make things difficult for the heavenly tree race." "You?" The heavenly tree mother stared at Su Fang and indifferently smiled. "Su Fang, this one knows that you are extraordinary and have even passed through the starry sky path of 10,000 arts, which no one has ever passed before. However, don't forget that this one has a primordial heavenly treasure, and this is the heavenly tree race. Unless you're an immortal powerhouse, don't even think about standing in front of this one. Quickly leave, or don't blame this one for being impolite." Chapter 32:91. Since you're so unreasonable, then there's nothing more to say. I can only use my strength to reason with you. Su Fang had a domineering smile as he used the great returning origin art with his will visualization technique. The will of the heavenly Tao that could destroy and end everything rolled towards the precious tree mother. Sensing Su Fang's powerful will, the precious tree mother's divine light changed instantly. This brat's current strength is so terrifying. Bao the tree mother was shocked and had to borrow the will of the heavenly tree to form a huge phantom to defend against Su Fang's will. Boom! The phantom of the heavenly tree collapsed layer by layer. Even though she managed to dissolve more than half of Su Fang's will visualization technique, she was still affected. Her Tao heart was struck by the power of will and almost collapsed. Her Tao heart was also shaken and trembled. Her green face turned pale in a split second. "Su Fang, I didn't want to suppress you because of our old friendship, but I didn't expect you to be so ruthless. Don't blame me for being merciless." The tree mother was enraged. She gritted her teeth and activated the 12 primordial heavenly treasure trees. "Merciless? When have you ever been merciful? Tree mother, I'm no longer the little cultivator from the western mysterious mountain war. It's not too late for you to hand over the heavenly daughter now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Su Fang's tone was cold, and his gaze was like lightning that pierced through the night sky. "I'll just suppress you too. Who knows? Maybe I can get the supreme treasure to reach the immortal level from the Tensei people and Qianyuan race." Greed surged out of the precious tree mother's heart. She shook her arms, and 9 million thoughts rushed out from her body. The thoughts created a space-time that was filled with the heavenly Tao's momentum of life and death. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Su Fong fell into the space-time and was affected by the heavenly Tao's principle of life. The life force in his body also surged uncontrollably. When the life force reached its peak, it started to wither, die, and then reincarnate. In this way, from growth to death, the cycle repeated itself without end, and it contained the principle of the cycle of life that was endlessly growing and multiplying. Su Fong was also trapped in the cycle of life again and again. His will was being worn down, and his life was quickly draining away. Bao Su Fong had experienced the divine ability of the tree godmother from the heavenly tree races Ku and Rong ancestors, so he was naturally familiar with it. Here, when the precious tree divine mother used it herself, she even borrowed the power of the celestial tree in the distance. The power of this divine art was 100 times stronger than that of the two ancestors. Su Fong's current strength is not something you can imagine. Su Fong sneered disdainfully, using the great ruins of End technique and the great creation technique. He, the great art of ruins, and to the great art of creation, was the supreme truth of the heavenly Tao's creation from destruction. It was above the cycle of life. Furthermore, Su Fong had cultivated the Jiuxuan's limitless sutra to the 8th level. As his cultivation level increased, so did his strength. In the past, Su Fong was able to display 99% of Daozu's maximum strength. Now it was 100%, although, however, it was only a single step away, yet it reached the great circle of Daozu, able to shake the undying level. Boom, boom. To the collision of the supreme truths of the heavenly Tao caused a world-shaking disturbance. Time-space shattered, and the surrounding primal chaos space violently trembled. Chaotic streams of air swept up, shaking the celestial tree's boundary and causing it to erupt with a boundless green light. Pa! Treasure the precious tree divine mother was sent flying. She opened her mouth and vomited blood. Her aura rapidly weakened, and cracks began to appear on her body under the impact of Su Fong's divine art. It was like the bark of a tree that had been shaken apart. That little human cultivator from back then was so powerful that even this one could not resist. The precious tree divine mother looked at Su Fong, her eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Back in the western Black Mountain, Su Fong was just an ant in her eyes. She did not even bother to kill him. Now, Su Fong's strength was above hers. How could she not be shocked? Precious tree divine mother, how could I, Su Fong, be an ordinary cultivator? Not only do you regret it now, but you in the celestial tree race will also regret your decision in the future. Su Fong displayed the loftiness of a peerless overlord, making the precious tree divine mother feel like she was facing an immortal expert. Your current strength is indeed above this one's, but this one has been at the peak of the Daozu for countless years, and I am also the supreme of my race. How could a human cultivator with shallow foundations like you compare to me? The precious tree divine mother let out an indescribable snort. She waved her hand and grabbed out streaks of green light that fell into space-time. The green light quickly turned into 12 towering trees that took root in the primal chaos. They connected with the celestial tree race's celestial tree aura and emitted a terrifying wood-type aura, as well as an eternal aura. They were the precious tree divine mother's primordial heavenly treasure, the 12 treasured trees. You have a primordial heavenly treasure, but does Su Fong not have one? Su Fong gave an embarrassed smile. The longevity lamp and supreme war flag flashed out from his forehead. 2. The aura of the primordial heavenly treasure broke through the shackles of the 12 treasure trees and suppressed their auras. Tight. Next, Su Fong released the heavenly devouring insects. Hiss. Heaven, as soon as the insects appeared and saw the 12 treasure trees, they immediately let out a shocking roar. Their ferocious aura soared to the sky, and they looked at the 12 treasured trees with indescribable excitement, as if they had seen some delicacies. 2 primordial heavenly treasures. Heavenly devouring insects. You have cultivated the heavenly devouring insects to such an astonishing level The precious tree, Divine Mother's divine light, changed again. Su Fong, not to mention that Fong had two primordial heavenly treasures. Just the heavenly devouring insects were enough to give the precious tree, Divine Mother, a headache. Thus, with the heavenly devouring insects' current strength, it would not be difficult for them to directly devour her 12 treasure trees. How could she not be afraid? Su Fong Fong Ba said domineeringly, "Precious tree, Divine Mother, you do not want your primordial heavenly treasures to be devoured by my heavenly devouring insects, nor do you want your people to be slaughtered by me. I advise you to obediently release the heavenly daughter. Su Fong, you are powerful. The heavenly tree race admits defeat this time." The precious tree, Divine Mother, could only lower her head. Heaven the devouring insects could counter her 12 treasure trees, and with Su Fong's 2 grand mist heavenly treasures, even if he could not exterminate the heavenly tree race, he would still inflict heavy casualties on them. How could the treasured tree, Divine Mother, not lower her head? Bow the precious tree, Divine Mother, put the 12 treasured trees back in her body, and then sent a thought back into the heavenly tree space. A few moments later, Goddess Luo flew out of the barrier. Look, upon arriving at Su Fong, Goddess Luo was both shocked and delighted, and tears began to flow from her eyes. "With me here, no one will dare to bully you." Su Fong pulled Goddess Luo into his embrace, comforting her as he sensed her. When he found that Goddess Luo was fine, he let out a sigh of relief. Forget it. The precious tree, Divine Mother's luck was pretty good. If something had really happened to Goddess Luo, Su Fong would have really gone on a killing spree in the heavenly tree race. Even if he could not exterminate the heavenly tree race, he would have dealt a heavy blow to their vitality. Su Fong, this one will give the heavenly daughter to you. From now on, the heavenly tree race will have nothing to do with you. Bao said. The precious tree, Divine Mother, coldly snorted and prepared to return to the heavenly tree space. "Oh my!" Su Fong suddenly sneered. "The matter of the heavenly daughter is over, but the grudge between us is not. You want to leave?" The precious tree, Divine Mother, raised her eyebrows and coldly said, "What else do you want? You proposed a deal with me back then, but now you're going back on your word. I, Su Fong, am not a pushover. You could do whatever you want. Su Fong, don't be so unforgiving. Did you think about sparing the heavenly daughter just now? If I had not suppressed you with my strength and forced you to hand over the heavenly daughter, she would have fallen into the hands of the Tensei people and the Qinyuan race. Who knows what kind of torture she would have suffered. Today I, Su Fong, will be unforgiving." Su Fong was like this. If someone punched him, he would return the favor with 2 punches. Just now, Su Fong was still apprehensive when Goddess Luo was still in the hands of the precious tree, Divine Mother. But now that he had rescued Goddess Luo, how could he let the matter go? What will it take for you to let this go? The heavenly tree race's 9 flower jasper pills are not bad. Take out 10,000 and my grudge with the heavenly tree race will be written off. 10,009 flower jasper pills? You have a big appetite. The precious tree, Divine Mother, was furious. The 9 flower jasper pills are refined from the flowers of the heavenly tree. The heavenly tree only blossoms once per epoch, and each time it can only refine 109 flower jasper pills. You actually want 10,000. The precious tree, Divine Mother, took out a storage ring and threw it to Su Fong. There are 109 flower jasper pills inside. All of the heavenly tree race's remaining 9 flower jasper pills are here. It's up to you whether you want them or not. Then, the precious tree, Divine Mother, angrily returned to the inner space of the heavenly tree. 100? I, Su Fong, am not a beggar. You think a mere 100 pills can make me leave? Su Fong put away the storage ring and sensed it. He found that there were indeed 109 flower jasper pills inside. These pills were truly extraordinary. The 3 pills that the precious tree, Divine Mother, had given Su Fong were equivalent to saving Su Fong's life 3 times. No, the precious tree, Divine Mother, wanted to hand Goddess Luo over to the Qinyuan race and the Tensei people. If Su Fong had not arrived in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. With Su Fong's personality, 109 flower jasper pills were naturally not enough to quell his anger. Su Fong's figure flashed as he teleported out of the heavenly tree. Imperial Heaven Avatar. Strip innate abilities. Su Fong released the Imperial Heaven Avatar, and a supreme divine might that could strip innate abilities erupted from the bottom of the boulder. The Imperial Heaven Avatar had the extraordinary ability to strip innate abilities from cultivators, so it could naturally strip the abilities of primordial spiritual items as well. The divine might enveloped the heavenly tree. The entire heavenly tree began to tremble, and the space-time of the heavenly tree race fell into turmoil. Whoosh! Imperial. The heavenly avatar stripped a green light from the heavenly tree, which flew out of the heavenly tree and into a golden talisman at the bottom of the Imperial Heaven Avatar. Su Fong then turned to Goddess Luo. Imperial. The heavenly avatar once more erupted with divine might, but this time it was a power that bestowed innate abilities to cultivators. It enveloped Goddess Luo. Su Fong had used the Imperial Heaven Avatar to strip the heavenly tree's innate abilities and then bestowed them on Goddess Luo. The green light seeped into Goddess Luo's body, and her aura rapidly became profound and ethereal. Luo, the celestial maiden, could also sense that her cultivation talent was transforming at an inconceivable speed. She could naturally comprehend all the mysteries that she had previously found difficult to comprehend. At the same time, countless mysterious and unfamiliar pieces of information appeared in her mind. These were the ancient legacies of the celestial tree. After obtaining a portion of the heavenly tree's abilities, Goddess Luo's future accomplishments were limitless. Goddess Luo was both shocked and stuttered. Su Fong, I'm just making the heavenly tree race pay a small price, Su Fong said with a smile. He smiled sheepishly and sucked Goddess Luo into the Tao Palace from his palm before teleporting out. From Chapter 3292, Su Fong returned to the Luai's original boundary and sent Goddess Luo to the training hall where her family lived. Thus, with all of Su Fong's family members returned to him, Su Fong no longer had any worries. Thus, Goddess Luo settled down in her residence and was also given a large amount of resources for her cultivation. Su Fong then prepared to call his son over to meet Goddess Luo. Oh my, I know. However, he did not find his son Su Xuanyun's aura in the training hall. Su Fong was surprised and sent a telepathic message to Xuanxin. No, after a while, Xuanxin arrived. Xianwen, Xian, and Goddess Luo met. Both of them were overjoyed. They chatted excitedly and left Su Fong to the side. Su Fong could not help asking, Xuanxin, where did you hide our son? Only then did Xian, Xian, enter conversation with Goddess Luo. She sighed helplessly and said, Father, grandfather, and the others spoil Xian Yun too much. Furthermore, in the entire Lei Zhe original realm, everyone flatters and protects him. If this continues, I'm worried that he will end up like those playboys. Su Fong nodded and said, That's right. We have to find a way to solve this. How can I raise my son like trash? Xian Xan smiled. I thought you would love your son and not want him to suffer. I'm relieved now. Fong asked, Where did you send him to suffer? Xian Xian said, It was Xian Yun himself who suggested that he should start from the first layer of heaven and start from the basics. He is in the first layer of heaven now. To prevent him from relying on me, I even asked Master Dongxian to seal Xuanyun's memory. Su Fong asked. He went to the first heaven. Su Fong was stunned, not expecting Su Xianyun to have such ambition to start cultivating from the first heaven. The first heaven of the Luai's original boundary was equivalent to a small world in a low-level universe. Although Su Xianyun had the powerful life force of a Taoist master, he had never cultivated before. Going to the first heaven was equivalent to starting from scratch. Su Fong recalled how he had relied on his own efforts to reach his current height from the Pongsong universe. He could not help but sigh. He pondered for a moment. Su Fong suddenly waved his hand and grabbed out a strand of primordial force, and it swiftly rolled before him before transforming into a red and black profound light. Chi! Su Fong sent a thought into the Xianguang, and the Xianguang immediately materialized into a mirror. Bao one side of the mirror was red, while the other side was black. It was exactly the same as Su Fong's Han Yuan sacred mirror. However, this mirror was tens of thousands of times more powerful than the origin sacred mirror. Bastard after all, the origin sage mirror was created by heavenly venerate Pan Tsong, who was a cultivator at the level of a Tao master, while Su Fong's current realm was already half a step into the immortal realm. Naturally, Pan Tsong couldn't be compared to him. The Origin's sacred mirror couldn't be compared to the mirror he had created. The Origin's sacred mirror once helped me rise in the Pongtsong universe. Let this mirror help my son rise in the Luai's original boundary. Su Fong's thought moved, and the mirror disappeared from the inner space of the cave. It instantly passed through the shackles of the six heavens and finally landed in the first heaven. Su Fong's thought lived in the mirror, and it would eventually fall into Su Xuanyun's hands. Moreover, there was the nine-yang, nine-transformation technique in the Origin's sacred mirror. Under the guidance of Su Fong, Su Xianyun would also embark on the path that Su Fong had once walked. No, unless it was a matter of life and death, Su Fong's thought in the mirror would never help or expose his identity. Otherwise, Su Xuanyun's cultivation would be meaningless. As for how high Su Xianyun could go in the future, it would depend on his own efforts. After all, Su Fong could only provide him with some external forces. Su Fong projected his sensing ability and soon sensed Su Xianyun in the first heaven. Then, his sensing ability swept through all the six heavens and sensed the humans and demons living in the six heavens. The look in Su Fong's eyes turned resolute and hardy. The Thunder Lake original realm is still too small. Next, for my son, my family, and all human beings, I will fight for a place in the chaos. Retracting his sensing ability, Su Fong looked at Xuanxin and Goddess Luo, and his eyes became gentle. Chow! Su Fong chuckled at the two of them. One son is too little. I, Su Fong, want to have at least 100 sons. Why don't we call senior sister Xu Wanjin over and discuss how to have a son together? Xin and Goddess Luo's faces turned red in an instant. Asterisk, 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 asterisk time flew by. Soon, 100,000 years flew by. Deep in the chaos, an island floated in the chaos. The island was not big, only 10 million miles in area. However, the scenery on the island was beautiful, with birds singing and flowers fragrant, forests and mountains everywhere. Island. The spiritual energy on the island was extremely pure and high level. The world's aura contained the origin of the heavenly Tao. Even for those top Daozu experts, it was definitely a holy land for cultivation. No, other than all kinds of divine birds and divine beasts, there was not a single cultivator on the island. In the center of the island, there was a mountain peak that was only 1,000 feet tall. It was surrounded by clouds and mist, looking abnormally mysterious. Mountain at the peak of the mountain, there was a thatched cottage standing alone. Mao in front of the cottage, an old man was lying on a tattered chair, snoring thunderously. On the roof of the thatched cottage hung a rusty copper bell. Above the island was a sky full of stars that orbited the island in a strange pattern. Just by comprehending the pattern of these stars, one could comprehend the supreme great Tao from it. Any cultivator or force would scramble for such a holy land. However, such a holy land was not occupied by any faction or powerful race. That was because this island was extraordinary. This island was called Heaven Pass Island. In the chaos, there were countless factions, holy lands, Xianbao, and spiritual items with the word Heaven Pass in their names. This island was called Heaven Pass Island. It sounded very tacky, but it was extraordinary. This was because one could really reach the heavens from this island. Pass heaven meant that one could reach the ethereal heavenly Tao and enter the eternal shrine that existed in the heavenly Tao. Whoosh! A figure broke through the void outside Heaven Pass Island. He looked at the island and muttered to himself, Heaven Pass Island will be the place where I, Su Fong, will enter the eternal shrine and shock all races. Su Fong had settled in the Luai's original realm for 100,000 years. He was finally ready to take the test of the seventh heaven and challenge the eternal heavenly road. When Su Fong came to Heaven Pass Island and prepared to challenge the eternal heavenly road, a decision that related to the fate of Su Fong and the human race was also going on in the eternal shrine. In the ethereal heavenly Tao, a magnificent palace floated majestically. Palace on the plaque in front of the palace, there were two large golden words. Eternal. Just these two words contained the endless truth of the heavenly Tao and the supreme will of the heavenly Tao. It included all kinds of laws. Even if an ordinary cultivator took a glance at it, even if it was a Tao ancestor expert, their Tao palace would shatter and they would collapse immediately. The eternal shrine. Ru. It was the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. Even an immortal would not dare to offend the authority of the eternal shrine. Eternal inside the eternal shrine. Void rows of futons floated in the void. Thousand don't underestimate these seemingly ordinary futons. Each futon represented a different identity. Also, only an immortal was qualified to enter the eternal shrine and have a place in it. There were more than 1,000 futons, representing all the immortal of the chaos races, as well as the various powers and races. Over 1,000 Eternal Realm experts seemed to be quite a number, but compared to the countless races and cultivators in the primal chaos, this number was nothing at all. They were like phoenix feathers and Chilan horns, and their numbers couldn't be described with words. Here, there were many figures sitting cross-legged on the praying mats. They were all formed by the thoughts of the undying beings of the chaos 10,000 races. First, there were more than 1,000 futons, but only 100 or so were empty. Come, the immortal of the Qinyuan race, the Tensei people, and the 12 races were all present. Ice-old ancestor soul and the immortal of the starry race were also present. The empty futons were not because there were people absent, but because some powerful races that were once glorious kept a seat after they died. If there were inheritors who could pass the tests of the eternal shrine and still be listed in the eternal shrine, they had the right to make decisions. Mo, don't underestimate this right. In the eternal shrine, one word could decide the rise and fall of a race and the life and death of countless cultivators. Everyone, there was a golden futon floating in the middle of the futons. A middle-aged man in a golden robe sat on it. The middle-aged man had a rough appearance. His hair and beard were all golden, like steel needles. There was a golden horn on his head, and mysterious spiral runes were all over it. Here, being able to sit in such a prominent position, his identity must be extraordinary. He was obviously above the other immortal. He was from the Gold Horn race, one of the 3 supreme royal races. Every time there was a meeting in the eternal shrine, there would be an immortal from the 3 supreme royal races presiding. This time, it was the Gold Horn race's turn. Everyone, the Gold Horn race said in a majestic voice. Then the many undyings who were conversing in the dark immediately stopped and sat upright on the praying mats. The Gold Horn race stroked his golden needle-like beard and nodded. The Tensei people, the Qinyuan race, and the other races, a total of 53 immortals, have proposed to abolish all the rights of the Reizeigu people in the Eternal Shrine. Today, we've gathered you here to make the final decision. Let's start the voting. An old Tensei people said indifferently, the Reizeigu people have been extinct for many years. Although we found an heir, this person is cruel and arrogant. He relied on the eternal sky law to kill our Tensei people. Our immortals are restricted by the eternal sky law, so we can't do anything about it. This caused the heir to become more and more arrogant. Immortals, please uphold justice for our race. Then an immortal from the Qinyuan race shot out a Xianguang, which turned into a light screen. It showed Su Fang's massacre on the Qinyuan peak of the Lihua branch of the Qinyuan race, and the scene of Su Fang swallowing the fate and origin of the mysterious worlds of the Qinyuan race. However, then the Qinyuan race shouted coldly, "This man is so arrogant and disrespectful. If we don't abolish the rights of the Reizeigu people in the Eternal Shrine, Who knows how many races will be slaughtered by him? Immortals, please decide. Chapter 3293. Shuo, an undying warrior of the Qianyuan clan, unleashed a Xianguang, which transformed into a light screen. From the light screen displayed the scenes of Su Fong slaughtering the Qianyuan clan on the Qianyuan peak of the Li Hua branch of the Qianyuan clan, as well as the scene of Su Fong devouring the fate and origin of the mysterious worlds of the Qianyuan clan. Seeing Su Fong killing Daozu like killing a chicken, many undying warriors were shocked. However, the undying warrior of the Qianyuan clan shouted coldly, "This brat is so arrogant. If we don't strip the Reizegu people of their rights in the eternal shrine, who knows how many other clans will be slaughtered by this brat? Undying warriors, please decide." The undying warriors of the 12 clans and the Qianyuan and Tensei, people who had been bribed by the Qianyuan and Tensei, people started to condemn Su Fong. Most in the end, out of the 873 undying warriors, 859 of them agreed to strip the Reizegu people of their rights in the eternal shrine. No one objected. Only Isol Ancestor and the undying warrior of the space race, as well as some undying warriors who had grudges against the Tensei people and Qianyuan clan, chose to abstain. As such, the Reizegu people had lost all their rights in the eternal shrine, and they could only wait for the Goldhorn clan to make the announcement. Of course, if the Goldhorn clan objected, they could overturn the decision of the other undying warriors. This was the power of the 3 supreme royal clans. However, how could the undying warriors of the 3 supreme royal clans use their supreme power for such a trivial matter? The outcome had been decided, and no one could change it. This, the Tensei people, Qianyuan clan, and the other undying warriors of the other clans had expected such a result, and they were all delighted, but they didn't show it on their faces. However, they were secretly discussing how to seal or even work together to break the Leisha original sector and divide the inheritance of the Reizega people. The Goldhorn clan, undying, nodded. "Since everyone has made a decision, then I shall announce." Dang, dang, dang. The solemn sound of the bell reverberated abruptly in the inner space of the palace. Everyone, many immortal realm experts, were stunned. The Goldhorn race, undying being, laughed. Who would have thought that there would be a cultivator ringing the eternal heaven bell at this time, preparing to enter the eternal heaven road? It has been many epochs since anyone attempted to challenge the eternal heavens road. Now, someone actually intends to do so. Interesting. Ever since the eternal heavens road was created, no one has ever been able to complete the eternal heavens road. This time, which race's cultivator isn't afraid of death and actually dares to attempt the eternal heavens road? Many of the undying realm experts were discussing. Clock's voice fell. A calm yet persistent voice resounded within the palace. The successor of the Reizegu people, human cultivator Su Fong, wishes to pass through the eternal heavens road. Please allow me to pass through the eternal shrine. The inheritor of the Luai's original realm? What a coincidence. We were just discussing the matter of the Reizegu people, and now the inheritor of the Reizegu people wants to challenge the eternal heavens road. Is this a coincidence, or is it intentional? All the immortal realm experts were stunned. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the undying beings of the 12 races all had ugly expressions. Su Fong chose to challenge the eternal heavens road at this time. Obviously, he was deliberately challenging the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race. Didn't you want to deprive the Reizegu people of everything in the eternal shrine? I will use my own strength to prove that even if I am deprived of all my rights, I still have the ability to enter the eternal shrine and stand side by side with the undying realm experts. Su Fong was using his own actions to challenge the Qianyuan race and the Tensei people. Su Fong really came. Ancestor Ice Soul stroked his white beard and laughed. Su Fong passed through the starry sky path of 10,000 arts. Only he can pass through the eternal heavens road. The undying realm expert of the sky race laughed. Su Fong passed through the eternal heavens road of 10,000 arts and won the admiration of countless cultivators of the starry sky race. This undying realm expert of the Starry Sky race also admired Su Fong and even gave Su Fong a star nest pill. Jean, the great being of the Horn race, said majestically, "Interesting. No matter the result, this decision is meaningless. Why don't we let the inheritor of the Rei Zegu people pass through the Eternal Heavens Road first? What do you think?" Naturally, no one dared to refute the great being of the Horn race. They all nodded in agreement. Then the undying realm expert of the Golden Horn race said majestically, "The inheritor of the Rei Zegu people is allowed to pass through the Eternal Heavens Road. After 1,000 years, the Eternal Heavens Road will be opened." The majestic voice came out of the Eternal Shrine and echoed in the sky above Tongtian Island. Opening the Eternal Heavens Road will consume a lot of energy, and it will also require everyone's cooperation. Please make some preparations and take action after 1,000 years. When the undying realm expert of the Horn race nodded, he turned into a golden light and disappeared from the futon. Humph, this guy is really arrogant. Does he think the Eternal Heavens Road is so easy to pass? If he dies in the Eternal Heavens Road, it will save us a lot of trouble. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people snorted coldly. The Eternal Shrine's original intention of opening the Eternal Heavens Road was to prevent cultivators with no background from dying prematurely under the pressure of powerful forces. At the same time, the Eternal Heavens Road was also a shortcut for cultivators to reach the top in a single bound. The Tensei people and the Qian Yuan race bullied a human cultivator. Which undying realm expert didn't know this? It was just that they didn't want to expose it for the sake of the two high races and the undying realm experts of other races. Now the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people was so angry that he was about to pass through the Eternal Heavens Road in Su Fong. No matter whether he succeeded or failed, it would be a big blow to the reputation of the two high races. Then, the young man of the Qin Yuan race also snorted. That human ant wants to die. He can't blame others. The undying realm expert of the Sky race suddenly said, "That human cultivator can pass through the starry path of 10,000 arts of the Starry Sky race. It's not impossible for him to pass through the Eternal Heavens Road." The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people didn't expect the Starry Sky race to speak for Su Fong. He said unhappily, "Although the starry path of 10,000 arts of the Starry Sky race is extraordinary, it's not the Eternal Heavens Road. Since the undying realm expert thinks highly of that human ant, won't the Starry Sky race become a laughingstock if he dies on the Eternal Heavens Road?" The undying realm expert of the Starry Sky race stroked his beard and laughed. "Why don't I make a bet with the Tensei people? If Su Fong fails, I'm willing to give up the Annihilation Star River. If he passes through the Eternal Heavens Road, the Tensei people will give me a primordial heavenly treasure of equal value. What do you think?" The undying realm expert exclaimed. "The Annihilation Star River? The undying realm expert of the Starry Sky race? That's a peerless treasure you've refined for countless eras. It's even better than an ordinary primordial heavenly treasure. Are you willing to bet with it?" The undying realm expert of the Starry Sky race laughed. "For existences like us, all treasures are mere worldly possessions. A mere treasure is nothing. Isn't it just a primordial heavenly treasure? I'll bet with you." The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people said decisively, "It seems that I'll have another primordial heavenly treasure." Undying realm expert Xinghe laughed. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people also laughed. Undying realm expert Xinghe, "I think it's more likely that you'll lose a treasure. Let's wait and see. But let me make it clear first. The bet between us is just a spur of the moment. I don't mean anything else. If I win, don't hold a grudge against me." "Humph, I'm an undying realm expert. How can I be so narrow-minded?" Tongtian Island. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the peak of the mountain, motionless. The elder who had been sleeping in front of the cottage had woken up and was looking at Su Fong with interest. "You're about to cross the eternal heavenly road, but you're still so calm. You must be quite confident," the elder suddenly said. Su Fong opened his eyes. Although he was very polite, his tone was firm. Since I dare to come, I naturally have full confidence. The elder who guarded Tongtian Island was also an Undying Realm expert's thought doppelganger. Su Fong naturally had to be more polite in front of him. I've been guarding the Eternal Heavenly Road since it was created. There are a total of 5,836 practitioners here. All of them are peerless Daozu and peerless geniuses. When they first arrived, they were full of confidence like you. But in the end, none of them were able to complete the Eternal Heavenly Road. Moreover, the Eternal Heavenly Road is a road of no return. Once you enter, you can't leave. Even an Undying Realm expert can't save you. Su Fong said confidently, there are always exceptions. Since an Undying Realm expert has created the Eternal Heavenly Road, it means that practitioners below the Undying Realm have a chance to pass it. As long as there's a chance, I might be able to seize it. The elder scratched his messy beard and nodded. Well said. I admire practitioners like you the most. This thought doppelganger of mine has stayed on Tongtian Island for countless years and is bored. I might as well tell you about the Eternal Heavenly Road. Thank you, sir. Su Fong was surprised and happy. His spirit became hale and hearty. Since this Undying Realm expert's thought doppelganger had stayed on Tongtian Island after the Eternal Heavenly Road was created, he must be very familiar with the Eternal Heavenly Road. Being able to obtain some useful information from him was naturally a good thing. Time passed. Day after day passed. It took time for the Eternal Heavenly Road to open. During this time, the news of Su Fong's attempt at the Eternal Heavenly Road had spread throughout the myriad races. It had been a long time since a practitioner dared to attempt the Eternal Heavenly Road. Moreover, Su Fong's conflict with the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan had long shaken the myriad races. Therefore, the news of Su Fong's attempt at the Eternal Heavenly Road immediately attracted the attention of the myriad races. Strong practitioners constantly arrived outside Tongtian Island in various ways. Almost all of them were big shots of the primal chaos races. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan clan, and the upper echelons of the 12 races also rushed to Tongtian Island. Gradually, over 1 million cultivators gathered outside Ingress Island. They weren't just here to watch the show. To any Undying Realm expert, watching a practitioner attempt the Eternal Heavenly Road was a great opportunity. Although there were many people, no one dared to take a step into Tongtian Island. They could only stay outside, apart. Chapter 3294. What kind of race is the human race? There's actually such a powerful human who has the courage to challenge the Eternal Heaven's Road. The human race is just the lowest race in the primal chaos. I heard that they've already been exterminated. I wonder what kind of fortune this person obtained to be so powerful. A cultivator from a lower race dares to challenge the Eternal Heaven's Road. He's just courting death. I heard that this person even dared to challenge the Heaven Yuan race and the Tensei people and killed countless cultivators from the two races. Now, he's preparing to challenge the Eternal Heaven's Road. He's just a madman. At least this person has the courage to challenge the Eternal Heaven's Road. Cultivators should be like this. Even if they die, they should die on the path to the peak. Countless experts were discussing this matter. Some people snorted at Su Fong's actions, while others mocked and ridiculed him and the human race. There were also many cultivators from ordinary races and factions who admired Su Fong. Mother Tree also arrived outside Clear Sky Island and looked at Su Fong at the peak of the mountain. She gnashed her teeth. Hateful human brat. This time I'll see how you die with my own eyes. Many experts from the Tensei people, the Heaven Yuan race, and the 12 races looked at Su Fong and gnashed their teeth. They couldn't wait for Su Fong to die on the Eternal Heaven's Road. There was still more than 100 years before the Eternal Heaven's Road opened. So, a figure suddenly flew out from the crowd and headed straight for Clear Sky Island. Come. The experts from the 10,000 races were in an uproar. This person actually dared to set foot on Clear Sky Island. Was he tired of living and wanted to die? The old man's voice, filled with killing intent, came from the peak of the mountain. Those who trespass on Clear Sky Island will die. That person shouted loudly, Wait, I also want to challenge the eternal heavens road. When Su Fong heard this voice, he looked over and raised his eyebrows. His eyes shot out a sharp killing intent. Origin the cultivator, who was about to challenge the eternal heavens road, was none other than the 10 Directions Godmaster Evil Corpse. Unexpectedly. 1. Absolutely unexpected. 10. After God Lord Fong's evil corpse lost the battle with Su Fong, it was saved by the Qianyuan race's Undying. Who would have thought that he would actually appear on Clear Sky Island at this time, and even attempt to challenge the Eternal Heavens Road? Here comes another one who isn't afraid of death. Come here. The old man's lazy voice sounded. Thank you, my lord. The 10 Directions Divine Lord cupped his fists at the mountain peak before slowly descending to the summit. He pointed at the rusty bell hanging from the roof of the cottage and said to the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, use your thoughts to ring the eternal sky bell. Only after obtaining the permission of the guardian of the eternal shrine will you be qualified to attempt the eternal heavenly path. Yes, sir. Divine Lord Fong stared at the bell, and his thoughts converged into 9 blood-colored divine suns that bombarded the bell. Dang, dang, dang. The bell that seemed to be mottled with rust actually emitted a dignified and sonorous sound that shot into the depths of the starry sky and shook the surroundings. Film a moment later. Oni's majestic voice suddenly sounded from the summit. Who is it, and why is the eternal sky bell ringing? Divine Lord of 10 Directions, a cultivator of the Qianyuan race, wishes to challenge the eternal heavens road. My lord, please grant me permission. Divine Lord of 10 Directions said respectfully. Divine Lord of 10 Directions actually calls himself a cultivator of the Qianyuan race. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He understood why Divine Lord of 10 Directions wanted to challenge the eternal heavens road this time. Then, the majestic voice sounded again. Permission granted. Thank you, my lord. Divine Lord Fong kowtowed in thanks. The old man pointed at Su Fong's side and said, sit there and wait. Yes. Divine Lord of 10 Directions obediently sat down cross-legged on Su Fong's right side. Su Fong, you never imagined that I would also challenge the Eternal Heavens Road, did you? Divine Lord of 10 Directions' voice sounded in Su Fong's mind. Su Fong replied indifferently. Indeed, I didn't. I was just worrying about how to kill you in the Qianyuan race. I didn't expect you to come to Clear Sky Island of your own accord and prepare to die in the Eternal Heavens Road. It seems that I don't have to waste my efforts to kill you. Although I haven't truly become an immortal, I have the strength of an immortal. It's not impossible for me to challenge the Eternal Heavens Road. Divine Lord of 10 Directions revealed a sinister smile. Losing to you is the greatest humiliation of my life. This time, I will use the Eternal Heavens Road to trample you under my feet. I was able to trample you under my feet last time. This time it will be the same. You have already been surpassed by me, so you are destined to be under my feet forever. Is that so? As far as I know, your primordial heavenly treasures are limited in the Eternal Heavens Road. Monsters like the heaven-swallowing insects and traveling spiders can't be used. However, my sky-bearing god tablet is not restricted. With such an advantage, I will definitely be able to crush you. Divine Lord of 10 Directions looked as if victory was within his grasp. Clearly, the immortal of the Qianyuan race had told him a lot about the Eternal Heavens Road before coming to Clear Sky Island. Su Fong was well aware of why the Qianyuan race had sent Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Regardless of whether Su Fong succeeded or failed, the Qianyuan race's reputation would be greatly affected. The Qianyuan race. The Yuan race wanted to use Divine Lord of 10 Directions to suppress Su Fong. Even if they failed, they would be able to redeem some of their reputation. Another Divine Lord of the Qianyuan race was extremely vicious. Divine Lord of 10 Directions. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions, Su Fong's mortal enemy, had come in order to incite Su Fong's hatred. At the same time, he would also put immense pressure on Su Fong. This would cause Su Fong's Tao heart to become unstable, and the chances of the eternal path of heavens failing would increase. Divine Lord of the Qianyuan race had schemed to such an extent just to suppress Su Fong. He was despicable and vicious to the extreme. The Qinyuan race is trying to use Divine Lord of Ten Directions to disturb my Tao heart. I have an immortal Tao heart and have reached the level of great indifference. How could I be affected by external forces? I'll use this opportunity to kill Divine Lord of Ten Directions and completely end this grudge. Su Fong snorted inwardly. His Tao heart returned to its tranquil state as he sat cross-legged on the mountain peak, waiting for the eternal heavens road to open. Divine Lord of Ten Directions was also going to attempt the eternal heavens road, causing a commotion among the cultivators. Since when did the Qinyuan race have such a powerful figure? The Qinyuan race has sent Divine Lord of Ten Directions to attempt the eternal heavens road. They are clearly targeting the human cultivator. There will be a good show to watch. Both of them are half-step immortal. I wonder who will win in the end. No matter who wins, they won't be able to complete the entire eternal heavens road. They will die in the end. The experts of the human race discussed fervently, speculating whether Su Fong or Divine Lord of Ten Directions will be able to walk further on the eternal heavens road. However, no one believed that the two of them would be able to complete the eternal heavens road. No one below the immortal realm could pass the eternal heavens road. This was a publicly acknowledged law that no one could break. The two of them were competing to see who could walk further on the eternal heavens road. Time elapsed. 100 years was just the blink of an eye for a cultivator at Su Fong's level. Eternal heavens road open. A majestic voice that sounded like the heavenly Tao suddenly reverberated in the sky above Clear Sky Island. Boom, boom. Clear sky, the stars in the sky above the heavenly island started to move, moving to the sides, revealing a void passage that led to the endless depths of the sky. Tight. Following that, grains of star-like substance appeared in the starry sky and gathered together to form a vast river of starry sand. It was vast and mighty, extending from the sky above Clear Sky Island to the end of the horizon. At the end of the river of starry sand, one could vaguely see the outline of a golden palace. It was the eternal shrine that existed in the ethereal heavenly Tao. After the starry sand surged, a flight of stairs formed from the vast river of starry sand. There were a total of 3,000 steps, forming a heavens road from Clear Sky Island to the eternal shrine. This is the eternal heavens road, Su Fong said. Fong looked at the heavens road, his eyes flashing with vigor, anticipation, and incomparable persistence. Su Fong already knew from his conversation with the elder guarding Clear Sky Island that each step was a space-time. Also, it was not an ordinary space-time, but a space-time condensed from the Great Tao. 1. This space-time was a Great Tao of cultivation. 3,000 steps represented 3,000 Great Taos. To reach the peak, one had to shatter 3,000 space-times. The Eternal Heavens Road not only tested one's strength, but also one's understanding and mastery of the Great Tao. Only by cultivating the Great Tao at the peak of the 3,000 Great Taos and mastering the true essence of the Great Tao would one have a glimmer of hope to shatter the space-time of the 3,000 Great Taos, complete the Eternal Heavens Road, and finally reach the Eternal Shrine. Su Fong, this seat will definitely step on your head this time and set foot on that supreme peak. 10. God Lord Fong let out a long howl. He slowly flew into the vast river of starry sand and stepped onto the first step. Boom, boom, boom. From the outside, it looked like the starry sand was dancing wildly around God Lord Ten Directions, sweeping toward him with a terrifying might. 10. God Lord Fong let out maniacal laughter. In less than half an incense stick's worth of time, he shattered the surrounding starry sand and reappeared. Su Fong, what are you still hesitating for? This seat will go first, and watch how you struggle and fall at the peak of the Eternal Heavens Road. Ha ha ha! God Lord Fong's sinister laughter echoed. His body flashed, and he flew onto the second step. Su Fong looked up at the sky, his eyes unyielding. Above, in the sky, illusory figures were watching the Eternal Heavens Road. They were the immortal realm experts of the eternal shrine. Su Fong did not take God Lord Ten Directions seriously at all. God Lord Ten Directions' provocation could not shake his Tao heart in the slightest. What he cared about were the immortal realm experts. He wanted to prove to the high and mighty immortal realm experts of the eternal shrine and the cultivators of the 10,000 races that the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race could not suppress him. Even the heavens could not suppress him. Qianyuan race, Tensei people, and the other 12 races, you want to suppress me with your power? This time, I will use the eternal heavens road to tell you that if the heavens want to suppress me, I will defy the heavens. Su Fong's body exuded a lofty and domineering aura, as well as an incomparable persistence and unyielding will. He soared into the sky with a heaven-defying momentum. How dare he provoke us so wantonly? In the sky, the figure formed by the consciousness of the seventh ancestor of the Tensei, people sensed Su Fong's unyielding and unruliness and snorted coldly. It's just a wail before death. Why take it seriously? The Qianyuan race's immortal sneered disdainfully. Chapter 3295. Whoosh, whoosh. Su, as soon as he stepped onto the first step, the scenery around him changed drastically, and he fell into a space-time dimension. Shocking shackles enveloped Su Fong as the star sand danced wildly and swept towards Su Fong from all directions. Every grain of star sand contained a cold and deathly, silent energy. Countless star sand gathered together. It seemed chaotic, but in fact the star sand was arranged and moved in an extremely strange and mysterious way. It contained the laws of the heavenly Tao. The star sand was like a tide, containing the heavenly Tao's principles that rose and fell endlessly as it enveloped the entire space-time dimension. With such a shocking attack, ordinary Tao Lords would be instantly swallowed by the star sand once they entered the space-time dimension, and everything would be torn apart. That was even the powerful Daozu would find it difficult to escape after being trapped in this space-time dimension and would be exhausted to death in the end. How can this be a problem for me? Su Fong. Su Fong smiled faintly. Such a test couldn't pose any threat to him. He moved his mind. A murderous sword chi slashed out and instantly shattered the space-time dimension. It immediately started to collapse, and everything around him returned to normal. Su Fong took a step forward and teleported himself onto the second step. Chi, chi, chi. The sky was filled with sword chi. The space-time dimension on the second step was actually created by Su Fong's sword Tao. Break, Su Fong said. Fong released his Xianwang Dharma body, and the six-color pagoda immediately erupted with 6 terrifying divine powers, shattering the sword chi, star sand, and even the entire space-time dimension. Just like that, Su Fong was like a hot knife through butter as he walked up the stairs step by step. The first 1,000 Tao space-time dimensions posed almost no difficulty to Su Fong or the divine lords of 10 directions. From looking from the outside of Sky Pass Island, the two of them were walking up the steps as if they were flying and almost didn't encounter any obstacles. Tong! The elites of the 10,000 races outside Sky Pass Island started to become restless and started to discuss. A Daozu expert from the Yemor race snorted and said, "Who would have thought that the legendary Eternal Path of Heavens would be so easy? If I had known earlier, I would have taken the risk to try the Eternal Heavenly Road. Who knows, I might have been able to shock the heavens." Daozu of the Stellar race snorted and said, "If the Eternal Heavens Road was so easy, it wouldn't be so famous, and there wouldn't be so many peerless geniuses falling on it." The reason Su Fong and Divine Lord 10 Directions could move so quickly was not because of the Eternal Heavenly Road's undeserved reputation, but because they were too strong. For Su Fong to be able to pass through the starry sky 10,000 arts path, how could he be an ordinary person? One of the Tensei people, Daozu, retorted bluntly, "The first 1,000 great Daos are just low-end great Daos. Don't be fooled by their prestige now. Let's see how they can show off after the 2,000 great Daos." No one believed that Su Fong and the Divine Lord of Ten Directions would be able to complete the eternal heavenly road. Even the cultivators of the stellar race who had witnessed Su Fong passing through the 365 starry skies of the path of 10,000 arts could not be sure. On Clear Sky Island, middle, at the peak of the central mountain, in front of the thatched cottage, the elder opened his eyes, shook his head, and sighed. He closed his eyes again and said lazily, "You want to complete the eternal heavenly road with brute force? Looks like there will be 2 more short-lived ghosts on the eternal heavenly road." Time passed. 1, 100, 300, 500. About 3 months later. 10. Divine Lord Fong and Su Fong passed through the steps, shattering space-time one after another. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions was always ahead of Su Fong, and his momentum and speed seemed to surpass Su Fong's. It was not until they passed the 1,000th step that the trials they encountered became more and more difficult, and their speed of advancement slowed down. 10. Divine Lord Fong was still far ahead, and his speed was much faster than before compared to Su Fong. After shattering space-time, Fong entered the next step. Rumble. Star sand fell from the sky like a waterfall and piled up on the ground, forming a vast and boundless land. A terrifying gravity burst out from the ground and shackled Su Fong, trying to drag him into the ground and crush his Tao palace and physical body. "This is a branch of the great Tao of Earth, the great Tao of Earth." Fong raised his eyebrows and released primordial energy to form a defense around him, isolating himself from the gravity and the falling star sand. Earth. The space-time created by Fong's great Tao of Earth was not a threat to Su Fong, but his brows were still furrowed. It's not difficult to shatter this space-time, but there's still more than half of the journey ahead, and it'll get harder and harder. I can't shatter all the space-time. In the end, I'll be exhausted to death on the eternal heavenly road. I can't go on like this. An individual's strength is limited, after all. Even immortal realm experts can't last until the end if they want to shatter the space-time of the 3,000 great Taos. The immortal realm experts of the Eternal Temple created the eternal heavenly road, so there's definitely a chance to pass it. It's just that the cultivators who tried the eternal heavenly road in the past didn't find the right method. I have to calm down and find the most effective method. Only then can I complete the eternal heavenly road. What's the most effective method? Su Fong pondered for a while, and his destiny avatar began to deduce. About half an hour later, Su Fong's eyes flashed, and his gaze became spirited. When I was talking with the immortal realm expert guarding Tontian Island, he said that the eternal heavenly road doesn't just test one's strength, but more importantly, one's great Tao and one's mastery of the great Tao's true essence. Therefore, it's impossible to complete the eternal heavenly road with just one strength. The only way is to borrow strength, to fight strength. After the Destiny Avatar's deduction, Su Fong finally found the most effective method. The only way to pass through the eternal heavenly road was to borrow strength, to fight strength. Using one's own great Tao as a guide, fusing the heavenly Tao contained in each space-time, gathering the energy in the space-time, and then exploding it, finally shattering the space-time. Using the power of the eternal heavenly road to break the layers of great Tao space-time of the eternal heavenly road was the best method. Su Fong now understood why there were so many peerless characters. According to the immortal powerhouse guarding Clear Sky Island, there were even peerless geniuses who had the strength to shake immortals. But in the end, they all died in the eternal heavens road. The method Fong deduced was the only way to pass through the eternal heavenly road. It wasn't that no one had thought of it before, but even if they thought of it, it was difficult to do. Great Tao, there were thousands of great Taos, and no cultivator could master all of them. Also only by cultivating the supreme heaven Tao, the so-called primordial grand Tao, and it stood above the myriad of grand Taos and contained the myriad of grand Taos. Moreover, one had to grasp the true essence of the supreme heaven Tao and possess a sufficient cultivation realm would one be able to fuse the 3,000 grand Tao profundities and destroy the layers of space. I cultivate the Joshuan Limitless Sutra and have cultivated it to the 8th level. Only I can complete the eternal heavenly road. Su Fang's face was filled with pride. He immediately retracted his primordial aura and removed his defense. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Star sand fell from the sky and struck Su Fang, seeping into Su Fang's body and Tao Palace, trying to seal his physical body and Tao Palace. Boom, boom, boom. Below and around him, there was a heavy gravity that was trying to crush his physical body and Tao Palace in a meat paste. There was also a terrifying willpower that was trying to crush Su Fang's willpower. This was also the reason why many cultivators failed to pass through the eternal heavenly road. Many people didn't even have to fuse the heavenly Tao contained in space-time before their physical body, Tao Palace, and Tao Heart couldn't bear it. However, how sturdy was Su Fang's Tao Palace? How strong was his physical body? This, he also had an immortal Tao Heart. This, although Fang's space-time trial was shocking, it wasn't a problem for Su Fang. It couldn't shake his Tao Palace, Tao Heart, and physical body. This, some of the star sand that seeped into Su Fang's body was also absorbed by Su Fang's primordial aura. At this time, Su Fang circulated the Joshuan Limitless Sutra, constantly releasing his willpower and thoughts into space-time to fuse and control the heavenly Tao contained in space-time. At this moment, he was like a supreme heavenly Tao that could contain everything. There was no need to resist it directly. Instead, he could fuse with it with his own great Tao. Hold after 6 hours. Break. Su Fang's thoughts moved. Boom. Entire. The ground in space-time collapsed, and the star sand danced wildly. Finally, the entire space-time shattered. This works. Although it takes a long time, the energy consumed is less than 1% of the previous time. Su Fang exclaimed. The corners of Fang's mouth curled up, revealing a confident smile. Embrace with the Destiny Dharma body, he could control his own fate and future, finding a sliver of hope in the impossible. Cultivate by using the Joshuan Limitless Sutra and grasping the true essence of the supreme heavenly Tao, Su Fang had the ability and strength to make the impossible possible. Su Fang had been delayed for a long time. Originally, he had been less than 10 steps away from the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, but now, the gap had widened to more than 20 steps. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions turned to Su Fang and mocked. Su Fang, didn't you want to surpass me? Why are you being trampled under my feet now? Evil and smug laughter echoed through the eternal heavenly road. Su Fang looked at the Divine Lord of 10 Directions and gave an embarrassed smile, looking at him like he was looking at a dead man. 10 Divine Lord Fang was indeed very strong, but unfortunately, he was only the evil corpse of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. It was impossible for him to pass through the eternal heavenly road. But now he was so arrogant and smug. It was truly laughable. He's not even halfway there, yet he took so long. Did that human cultivator really pass through the starry sky path of 10,000 arts? I reckon that human cultivator can't even reach 2,000 steps. He's not worthy of his reputation. I thought he would have some kind of shocking performance. Outside Clear Sky Island, the cultivators from the 10,000 races were surprised to see Su Fang slow down. The Tensei people, Qianyuan people, and other cultivators from other races were also cursing and mocking him. High in the sky, the Eternal Divine Hall's immortal experts who were watching the Eternal Heavenly Road had completely different reactions to Su Fang's performance. This kid is indeed extraordinary. He actually found the trick. Looks like he has a chance to complete the Eternal Heavenly Road. Thinking about it is one thing, but being able to do it is another. In my opinion, that inheritor of the Reizeigu people will have a hard time. Compared to the human cultivator, the difference between the Qianyuan cultivator and the human cultivator is not small. Chapter 3296. Su Fang slowed down on the Eternal Heavenly Road, and the distance between him and God Master of 10 Directions widened. That human cultivator doesn't seem to be able to make it. It's already a miracle that he could reach the 2,000th step of the Eternal Heavenly Road. How did that human cultivator pass the starry sky path of 10,000 arts? Is the starry sky path of 10,000 arts unworthy of its name? Or did he cheat? The cultivators outside Sky Island were greatly disappointed by Su Fang's performance. Some even began to suspect that the starry sky path of 10,000 arts of the starry sky path of 10,000 arts was unworthy of its reputation. No, Daozu, who had extraordinary eyesight, more or less found some clues. He looked at Su Fang with a grave expression. Su Fang, there's something wrong. God Master of 10 Directions stepped onto the 2,000th step in one breath. He looked back at Su Fang, who was 100 steps away from him. At this time, God Master of 10 Directions also sensed the abnormality. Bai He was once a peerless genius of the human race. Although he was only left with an evil corpse, his eyesight was still extraordinary. After sensing for a while, he sensed Su Fang's intention from Su Fang's every move. I didn't expect Su Fang's Dao heart to be so firm. I mocked and provoked him repeatedly, but he didn't fall for it. God Master of 10 Directions raised his eyebrows. This time, I'm not only going to defeat Su Fang, but also to prove myself in front of the eternal shrines, undying beings, and the other cultivators of the myriad races. Therefore, the eternal heavenly road is my chance to rise. Defeating Su Fang is secondary. God Master of 10 Directions calmed down and stopped provoking Su Fang. He was an ambitious person. Although he was saved from Su Fang by the undying beings of the Heaven Origin clan, he was not willing to become their slave, because thus he wanted to use this opportunity to challenge the eternal heaven's road, to suppress Su Fang and rise up in defiance of the heavens. Take. God Master of 10 Directions slowed down. Every time he passed through a great Tao space-time, he had to figure out the trick. Su Fang inwardly sneered when he saw the 10 Directions God, Lord, slowed down. The Jiuquan limitless scripture he cultivated originated from the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. But in terms of cultivation realm, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions was far inferior to him. Why? Here back then, the 10 Directions Divine Lord was nothing more than the evil corpse of the 10 Directions Divine Lord, controlled by the evil consciousness. Not only had Su Fang cultivated the Jiuquan limitless scripture to the 8th level, but he also possessed an immortal Tao heart and a powerful physical body. These were things that the 10 Directions God Lord evil corpses could not compare to. Namely, even if the 10 Directions Divine Master evil corpses found the most effective way to break through the eternal heavenly road, they would not be able to do what Su Fang did, using their own heavenly Tao as a guide to fuse with the great Tao of space-time, and then using the power of the great Tao of space-time to shatter space-time. Divine Lord of 10 Directions, this eternal heaven's road will be your burial ground. Su Fang's heart surged with fierce killing intent. If the Divine Lord of 10 Directions could not complete the eternal heaven's road, it meant death. The only thing that Su Fang regretted was that he could not kill the Divine Lord of 10 Directions with his own hands, for the sake of Shi Xian's Daozu and the countless humans who had died tragically at the hands of the 12 races. Su Fang broke through the great Tao space-time, crossing step by step, and maintained his previous speed. No, unknowingly, almost 100 years had already passed. Su Fang finally reached the 2000th step. Although he looked a little dispirited, his eyes were very calm. There was no trace of joy or panic. The great Tao was difficult. Only by maintaining a calm cultivator's heart and advancing calmly could one reach the highest peak. The last 1,000 steps will become even more difficult. However, I am still confident that I can complete the eternal heaven's road. Fang Fang looked at the end of the heaven's road and smiled embarrassedly. He activated the heaven-piercing Blood King vine and continued to advance after a round of swallowing. After crossing the 2000th step, Su Fang's speed did not decrease at all. As expected of a peerless figure who had passed through the starry sky path of 10,000 arts. Extraordinary, very extraordinary. The reason why he slowed down in front was because he wanted to accumulate enough strength. If this person did not pass through the eternal heaven's road, he would definitely become a peerless expert in the future and have a chance to reach the immortal realm. Unfortunately, once he enters the eternal heavens road, there is no turning back. In the end, that human cultivator will still die on the eternal heavens road. Outside Clear Sky Island, no more cultivators mocked him. Now, everyone had seen Su Fong's strength and was shocked. However, no one believed that Su Fong could pass through the eternal heavens road. High in the sky, those immortal realm experts of the eternal shrine were also discussing Su Fong. An immortal realm expert side. This human cultivator was able to become the inheritor of the Reizigu people not only because of luck, but also because of his extraordinary strength. No wonder he dared to offend the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race. Since the Eternal Heavens Road was opened, there were many peerless figures who could pass the 2000th step. Some even reached the 2099th step, only one step away from the final peak. In the end, didn't they all die on the Eternal Heavens Road? No matter how extraordinary this human cultivator is, he will still die in the end. An immortal realm expert sneered. This person was Luan Zhuan Yuan ancestor. Xing the Sky Race's Star River immortal realm expert retorted. I think he has a chance to win a primordial heavenly treasure. The Tensei people's seventh ancestor laughed. I think you have a higher chance of losing the World Annihilation Star River. Under the gaze of the experts of the 10,000 races, Su Fong advanced steadily and finally caught up with God Master 10 Directions at the 2000 step mark. Although the two of them were on the same step, they were not in the same space-time. Su Fong, as soon as Fong stepped on the step, he immediately fell into a thick fog. Entire space-time was filled with fog, blocking Su Fong's senses. There was also a kind of heavenly ways supreme truth and Tao aura that made Su Fong completely lost. A branch of the water great Tao, the great Tao of fog. Su Fong was trapped in the foggy space-time. His figure was majestic and unmoving. The supreme heavenly ways, supreme divine might and willpower surged out of his body along with the primordial heavenly ways aura and permeated the entire foggy space-time. At this moment, Su Fong was like the chaos that contained and accommodated everything. He merged and embraced the entire great Tao of fog space-time and then controlled it. Half-day. Su the fog in the space-time where Fong was suddenly boiled. After a violent tumble, it suddenly expanded and exploded, as if the fog had been pushed aside to reveal the sky. The surrounding space-time shattered, and Su Fong's figure once again appeared on the step. He was not in a hurry to step on the next step. Instead, he stood quietly with his hands behind his back. Wait, after 6 hours, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions finally broke through space-time and revealed himself on the step. Su Fong's mocking voice rang out. Divine Lord of 10 Directions, didn't you want to trample me underfoot? Now, it seems like I'm trampling you underfoot. Divine Lord Fong coldly snorted. Su Fong, you just want to infuriate this Lord and disturb this Lord's Tao heart. Do you think this Lord will fall for your tricks so easily? You're so sure that you'll lose to me, so why should I disturb your Tao heart? Su Fong snorted disdainfully. I once said that you are my stepping stone to the supreme peak. The only meaning of your existence right now is to serve as a foil to my peerless edge. Su Fong sneered. Fong smiled domineeringly as he suddenly accelerated. The great Tao of space-time shattered as Su Fong overtook him step by step. Soon, he surpassed the Divine Lord of 10 Directions by more than 30 steps, which was more than 30 great Tao of space-time. Now, the two of them had essentially switched places, and the difference between them was immediately obvious. Su Fong, Divine Lord of 10 Directions, I'll be at the end of the eternal heavenly road and watch you die. Fong's domineering voice resounded through the eternal heavenly road and into the ears of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. You dare to humiliate this Lord like this? Divine Lord Fong was also shocked and surprised. Although he knew that Su Fong was intentionally infuriating him, he still found it difficult to suppress the rage and frustration in his heart. After all, he was the evil corpse formed from the evil thoughts of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, so it was easy for him to lose his mind. Moreover, He did not have the eternal Tao heart of Su Fong. Now that Su Fong had provoked him, his Tao heart was finally thrown into disarray. Boom! Boom! The Divine Lord of 10 Directions no longer hid his strength and began to chase after Su Fong. However, reality was cruel. Not only did the Divine Lord of 10 Directions fail to catch up to Su Fong, the gap between him and Su Fong only grew wider and wider. After losing his composure and rationality, he began to slow down and consume more and more energy. One Fong Fong's great Tao spacetime had been fused and controlled by Su Fong, and then she used the power of spacetime to shatter it. Su Fong did not seem very fast, but he was astonishingly fast. He did not pause at all and continued to advance at the same speed. The eternal heavenly road did not have an undeserved reputation. It had still caused Su Fong enormous consumption and injuries. Good. Su Fong had the ability to recover her cultivation and physical body. She could use the heaven-piercing Blood King vine to devour the essence, pills, and spirit items in the corpses of foreign experts. She also had the Celestial Tree Race's 9 Flowers Jasper Jade pill. Thus, she could quickly recover from her cultivation and physical injuries. Although she couldn't always maintain her peak condition, she could at least endure it. 1,600. 1,700. 2,800. 1,900. Su Fong had made it to 2,990 steps. She was only 10 steps away from the end of the eternal heavenly road. Swoosh! Gasps of surprise came from outside Heaven Connection Island. Heaven-defying. That human cultivator is heaven-defying. In the past, there were quite a few peerless figures who attempted the eternal heavenly road that surpassed 2,000 steps, but very few were able to reach 2,900 steps. That human cultivator actually managed to reach 2,990 steps. Even if he fails in the end, this person will still shock both ancient and modern times. No one was not shocked, and no one was not crying out in surprise. Thus, even the experts from the Tensei people, the Heaven Yuan race, and the 12 other races had completely shut their mouths. Reverence for the strong was the instinct of all cultivators. Su Fong, the strength that Fong Fong had displayed, made all those below the immortal realm sigh in surprise and revere. Even Su Fong's enemies were no exception. Chapter 3297. When Su Fong stepped on the 990th step, all the immortal realm experts were surprised. Everyone, since the great beings of the eternal shrine joined hands to open the eternal path of heaven, there were very few peerless talents who could reach this height. However, there were very few people who were as relaxed as Su Fong. Of course, for the immortal realm experts of the eternal shrine, Su Fong's performance was just a little unexpected, but not too shocking. No, he was a supreme existence that coexisted with the heavenly Tao. He had an eternal lifespan and experienced countless storms. He had also witnessed the rise and fall of countless peerless humans. There was almost nothing that could shake their Tao hearts. Yes, many immortal realm experts were just surprised by Su Fong's shocking performance. They were just interested in Su Fong. Su Fong's performance is so extraordinary. It's enough to show that the starry sky path of 10,000 arts is worthy of its reputation. Galaxy Immortal Realm expert of the Starry Sky race smiled embarrassedly, sounding quite proud. Wheel Ancestor Zhuan snorted. This guy is indeed extraordinary, but he's also arrogant enough to challenge the authority of the Immortal Realm experts and the upper races of the chaos. Even if he can really pass the eternal path of heaven, who knows what kind of trouble he will cause in the future? The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people continued. How can the authority of the Immortal Realm experts and the upper races of the chaos be challenged? That human tried to challenge the Immortal Realm experts, the Tensei people, and the Qinyuan clan. He couldn't escape death in the end. It's his fortune that he died on the eternal path of heaven. Many Immortal Realm experts of the Eternal Shrine, except for a few, nodded. The authority of the Immortal Realm experts and the upper races of the chaos couldn't be challenged by any practitioner. There was only one ending for the challenger. That was death. Who? However, a dignified voice rang out. Everyone, don't forget that the original intention of all of you joining hands to open up the eternal heavens road was to give those peerless geniuses without any background a hope. It would be a pity if such geniuses are unable to display their brilliance. Many immortal realm experts were silent. The voice came from the immortal realm expert of the Goldhorn clan. Who dared to refute a supreme expert? Unexpectedly, Jean, the peerless powerhouse of the Horn clan, actually also had a love for Su Fong. The Golden Horn race expert continued. If that human cultivator has the ability to pass through the eternal heavenly path and change his fate, he should be listed in the eternal shrine. What do you all think? My lord is wise. Many undyings agreed. Luan Huan Yuan Zhu said indifferently. If you want to break through the eternal heavenly road and change your destiny and future, it's difficult. As soon as Su Fong stepped onto the 2,991st step, he felt as if he had entered an illusory water world from the real world. The boundless stars rippled and roiled as it converged into a boundless ocean of Starzan, and it gave rise to enormous waves that swept towards Su Fong with the force of overturning the heavens and the earth. A grand owl of water, and a grand owl of water at that. Fong's expression turned grave. Most of the last 10 steps were the space and time of the Grand Tao at the peak, and the supreme truths of the Heaven Tao contained within them were the most quintessential true essence. So even with his strength, he didn't dare be careless in the slightest. Boom, boom. Suhi stood majestically amidst the monstrous waves, allowing the wild sand waves to batter him. Pooh! The first wave hit Su Fong's physical body, and he felt as if he was a straw being lifted by a huge wave, and he could be crushed into pieces at any time. The stars seeped into Su Fong's Tao Palace, and it also set off monstrous waves in the Tao Palace. The waves let out loud, rumbling sounds, and they directly battered Su Fong's Tao heart, and even his origin soul. Before the first wave subsided, another wave rose. Wave after wave swept over in a frenzy, endless and mighty. At the same time, there was also a majestic pressure and permeating power, which vividly displayed the true essence of the Grand Tao of water. Taking advantage of the momentary pause, Su Fong swallowed 5 flower-fine jade pills in one go, and majestic medicinal power caused his physical body to recover rapidly. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine was also fully activated by Su Fong, and the blood threads seeped into his flesh and blood like countless meridians, causing Su Fong's physical body to become more stable. At the same time, the heaven-piercing Blood King vine was also crazily devouring pills, spiritual items, and the essence contained in the Daozu experts' corpses to recover its depleted cultivation and physical body. The stars that seeped into Su Fong's Tao Palace and body was also slowly being absorbed by Su Fong. There was also the terrifying will of the heavenly Tao that continuously battered Su Fong's Tao heart. Su Fong's Tao heart was like the heavens, containing everything, and it was unshakable, until Su Fong's origin soul, with the longevity lamp, could continuously replenish pure soul power, and it was even more difficult to shake his soul. However, Su Fong then used the repeated attacks to penetrate the surrounding space and time, continuously fusing and containing the endless Grand Tao of water. Although, under the repeated attacks, Su Fong was injured again and again, but it was no longer as serious as before. In the end, Su Fong was drifting in the stars and waves like a leaf floating on water. No matter how high the waves were, and how the leaves moved with the waves, they could not be harmed at all. About a month later, Grand Tao of water break? Su Fong suddenly let out a voice that was like the heavenly Tao. Boom, boom, boom. Zhou, the surrounding waves soared into the sky, and the entire stars and world was boiling. The waves were turbulent, and it was earth-shattering. The raging waves engulfed the world, turning into a world-destroying storm that engulfed the entire space-time, causing it to start to collapse. Therefore, Su Fong now had 100% of the Daozu's peak strength, and it was not impossible for him to break this grand Tao of water. However, the consumption of energy was also extremely shocking. In this way, it would become more and more difficult in the future. At this, Su Fong used his own supreme heavenly Tao to fuse with the entire grand Tao of water. It was much easier for him to break through the space-time with the help of the grand Tao of water. Moreover, the consumption was also within an acceptable range. While fusing with the grand Tao of water, it was also a confirmation of Su Fong's supreme heavenly Tao, causing Su Fong's cultivation realm to become more stable. When the surrounding space-time was completely shattered, Su Fong appeared on the 2,991st step again. He began to wantonly devour elixirs, spiritual objects, and essences to recover his energy. His originally withered spirit gradually became hale and hearty, and his chaotic aura became calm and empty. The Immortal Realm expert guarding Tonkan Island said that there are still 9 supreme grand Tao of metal, wood, earth, fire, thunder, yin, yang, karma, fate, and hongmeng. The last were the most difficult. Fong looked at the 9 steps behind him, and he did not relax at all. No matter how difficult it is, I, Su Fong, will definitely surpass it. Once I cross it, I will become one of the Immortal Realm experts of the Eternal Shrine, and the entire human race will rise with me. The Qinyuan clan and the Tensei people are vainly trying to take away all the rights of the Reizega people in the Eternal Shrine. Humph! No one can take away what belongs to me, Su Fong. Su Fong looked up at the sky outside the Eternal Heaven Road, and his eyes were filled with stubbornness and unyielding determination. As long as he crossed the last 9 steps, even if he did not become an Immortal Realm expert, he would be able to stand side by side with those Immortal Realm experts of the Eternal Shrine. Those Immortal Realm experts of the Eternal Shrine were not qualified to decide the fate of him and the entire human race. After resting on the steps for 3 days, a divine power that could distort space automatically surged out from the surroundings and sent Su Fong directly to the 2,992nd step. At the last 10 steps, after each step, there would be 3 days of rest. Although it was short, it was enough for Su Fong. God Lord of 10 Directions also started to exert his full strength. His violent and evil nature had been completely aroused. He no longer used any tricks, but activated the sky-burying God Monument, and used a tyrannical and domineering method to destroy Great Tao space-time and advance step by step on the Eternal Heaven Road. At the Eternal Heaven Road restricted cultivators from using all external forces, including Xin Bao, rune talismans, all kinds of treasures, and the strength of subordinates. However, the evil corpse of God Lord of 10 Directions was residing in the sky-burying God Monument, and he was the sky-burying God Monument, so he was not restricted by this restriction. At the same time, with the help of the sky-burying God Monument, God Lord of 10 Directions gained the strength of an Immortal Realm expert. At the same time, when it came to Su Fong and God Lord of 10 Directions' performance on the Eternal Heaven Road, the experts of the myriad races outside Heavenly Passage Island once again fell into a state of intense shock. From time to time, someone would exclaim in surprise. From the looks of it, that human cultivator Su Fong really does have some hope of completing the Eternal Heaven Road. That Qinyuan cultivator is also extraordinary. That's strange. Why do the auras of Su Fong and God Lord of 10 Directions both come from the human clan? Even the great Taoists they cultivate are almost the same. Could the two of them be related in some way? The Immortal Realm experts in the sky were all rather surprised. If such a peerless figure is nurtured, it's very likely that he will become an Immortal Realm expert in the future. Why would the Qinyuan clan be willing to send such a person to the Eternal Heaven Road? Many Immortal Realm experts were puzzled. Many Immortal Realm experts did not know that the Qinyuan clan was only treating God Lord of 10 Directions as a chess piece. Why would they care about his life or death? At the same time, time passed. Su Fong stepped on the space-time of the great Taos of metal, wood, earth, fire, and lightning. Although it was not easy, it was definitely not difficult either. True, the real test had finally arrived. The 2997th step, the space-time of the great Tao of karma. You reap what you sow, karma. Whatever cause you put in, you'll reap the same results. No, cultivators, even mortals, had countless karmas planted before they were born. Previous. In this life, gratitude, hatred, love, and hatred, these were the origins of karma. Xiao. Only by severing all karma could one transcend all shackles and reach the height of coexisting with the great Tao. However, a cultivator had so much karma in his life that it was extremely difficult to sever all of it. Su Fong stepped onto the 2997th step, and everything around him changed instantly. Countless figures and illusory light screens floated in the space-time. Countless threads condensed from starlight were densely packed together, emitting the mysterious power of karma. They connected all the figures and scenes together. All of them. The threads were all connected to Su Fong. As long as one person, object, or scene was involved, it would affect the whole situation and cause all kinds of karma, which would lead to everything in the future. Chapter 3298. The time and space of the Karma Great Path is different from any other great path. The way to destroy this time and space is also different. Every karma thread is a shackle for a cultivator. Only by cutting off all the karma threads can one break free from all shackles and rush out of the time and space of the Karma Great Path. Fong looked at the void threads between himself and the shadows around him and understood how to break the time and space of the Karma Great Path. There are countless strong people who have karma with me, and there are even immortal strong people. How can I cut them off? Su Fong furrowed his brows. Human in this life, he was affected by all kinds of people, things, and things. He went with the flow and unknowingly sank into it. His fate was at the mercy of all kinds of people and things. Every karma thread in the time and space of the Karma Great Path was related to a person, thing, or thing. The slightest touch could trigger all kinds of possibilities and lead to a series of karma. He would fall into one karma after another, and it would be difficult to break through the shackles of karma. Cutting off these threads meant breaking free from the shackles of karma. However, how difficult was it to cut off karma? If he couldn't cut it off, it would be messy. If he was careless, it would create more karma. This wasn't the biggest problem. Although the time and space of the Karma Great Path on the Eternal Heaven Road was created by immortal strong people, it was no different from reality. It was connected to the karma of the person who was tested. Su Fong's countless karma threads were connected to all the people, things, and things in reality. Search ordinary people, things, and things as long as their cultivation was lower than Su Fong's and Su Fong could control them, he could easily cut them off. However, how could he cut off the karma between Su Fong and the Heaven Yuan clan, the Tensei people, the immortal strong people of the 12 races, and Luan Huan Yuan ancestor? 1. If he failed, or if those immortal realm experts did something, Su Fong would suffer a backlash and be trapped in this endless cycle of karma. Failure on the Eternal Heavens road meant death. High in the sky, the immortal strong people of the Heaven Yuan clan, the Tensei people, and Luan Huan Yuan ancestor looked down at Su Fong in the time and space of the Karma Great Path and sneered in their hearts. Let's see how he will sever the karma between me and that human ant. If he dares to forcefully sever the karma between us, then I'll make him suffer karma backlash, and I'll make him be forever trapped in the entanglement of karma. The karma Tao space-time of the 2997th step is where that human ant died. These immortal realm warriors' gazes pierced through the space barrier, their hearts filled with killing intent. It's impossible for Su Fong to sever all karma and transcend all shackles. I'm afraid it will be trapped in the space-time of the great Tao of karma. Patriarch Soul began to feel nervous. The galaxy immortal of the galaxy race was no longer as confident and calm as before. That some of the immortals were waiting for Su Fong's death. Only a few were worried for Su Fong. Many immortal realm warriors, including the immortal realm warrior from the Goldhorn clan, were curious to see how Su Fong would cut off all the threads of karma and break through the time and space of the great path of karma. Little did they know, inside the time and space of the great path of karma, Su Fong, who should have been troubled and even badly battered, suddenly revealed a calm smile, and a strange expression appeared on his face. There are so many threads of karma, including so many immortals and even the Qin Yuan race and the Tensei people. It's impossible for me to sever all of them. Since I can't sever all of them, why should I sever them? The great path of karma comes from fate, and it affects fate. If my fate is no longer there, then I'll sever all the karma connections between me and anyone and everything. Naturally, there won't be any shackles. Therefore, to break through the shackles of the great path of karma, I don't need to sever them. Su Fong cultivated the great path of fate and the great path of heavenly secrets. He had mastered the true meaning of fate and the great path of heavenly secrets, and he had the ability to sever fate. If fate was severed, then all karma would no longer be connected, and naturally, there would be no shackles. Destiny Dharma Body, sever fate. Fong's eyes shouted coldly in his heart, and his mind moved. An ethereal power of fate surged out of his body, and in an instant, it severed all his fate and karma from the real world. Poof, 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 poof. The ethereal threads of karma broke from Su Fong's body as they lost their shackles. Poof. The other ends of the threads of karma were tied to shadows, and they all became dazed, floating in space like kites with broken strings. I didn't expect that human cultivator to have mastered the great path of fate, and I didn't expect that he could use this method to avoid the shackles of the threads of karma. Cunning, this guy is really cunning. Cheating. Passing the test of the great path of karma in such a way is like cheating. Many immortals looked through the space-time barrier and saw this scene. They were all surprised and shocked. The immortal from the Golden Horn clan laughed. Interesting. This human junior is really interesting. Although he's a little opportunistic, it's still a wonderful method. Even karma can't shackle me. Break. Su Fong's destiny dharma body activated the power of fate, condensing a sharp blade of nothingness and slashing at the void. Time the shackles of space were torn apart, and Su Fong's body was about to flash out of it. God! At this moment, a thread of karma suddenly shot out from a floating shadow of karma. It surpassed the constraints of time and space, and instantly fell on Su Fong's body, entangling him firmly. That Tao and Su Fong's shadow of karma connection came from original ancestor Luan Huan. Think impossible, seeing that Su Fong was about to break through the critical moment of the great path of karma. Original ancestor Luan Huan suddenly intervened and reconnected the karma between the two. Even if Su Fong cut off his fate, he couldn't escape the shackles of the thread of karma. Original ancestor Luan Huan, you captured my master's soul and controlled his reincarnation. Now you want to kill me. When I become an immortal, I'll make you pay 10 times more. Su Fong's eyes were burning with flames, and his heart was full of killing intent. Although Su Fong was furious in his heart, he had to deal with the crisis in front of him first. If you want to deal with me, Su Fong, you have to be prepared to pay the price. Su Fong suddenly turned his hand and grabbed. A powerful thunder of the great path of heaven that could destroy fate struck out from his palm and fell on the thread of karma. Puff! The thread of karma suddenly shattered. Su Fong got rid of the shackles, and his body staggered. He flashed out of the crack that was about to heal and appeared on the steps. Then Su Fong opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura became sluggish at an alarming speed. His hair and appearance also began to age at a speed visible to the naked eye. He didn't stop until he became more than 50 years old. Su Fong's life at this time was almost eternal. The loss of life force this time was still so shocking. It could be seen that the loss was heavy. Although Su Fong's life would be lost if he cut off fate with the heavenly mandate doppelganger, Su Fong's current cultivation was still within the range of tolerance. Breaking the thread of karma and getting rid of the shackles would not make Su Fong lose so much life. The loss of so much life at this time was because Su Fong not only cut off karma with a heavenly mandate doppelganger, but also followed the fate of nothingness to give Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, a fierce and ruthless counterattack. Wipe killing the fate of an immortal powerhouse. How could Su Fong consume less life? High in the sky, the figure of Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, suddenly burned and turned into ashes in an instant. Tight then, a figure condensed by Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, came out of nothingness. Look Su Fong on the eternal heaven road. Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, frowned coldly and let out a thunderous roar. Human ant, you dare to hurt me. Even if you fall in the eternal heaven road, I will let you fall into the torment of reincarnation forever. Su Fong's counterattack couldn't possibly wipe out the fate of an immortal being. Su Fong's counterattack couldn't possibly erase the fate of an immortal. However, Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, still suffered a little injury, which almost did not affect him much. However, for an immortal powerhouse like Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, being injured by a Daozu was like slapping his face in public. How could he not be angry? No, the anger of the immortal powerhouse was like the wrath of the heavens. Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, surged out a terrifying illusion of heavenly Tao reincarnation. Once some immortal powerhouses could not help but laugh. An immortal powerhouse not only failed to deal with a Daozu, but also suffered a counterattack. This time, Luan Zhuan, original ancestor's face was lost. It could be said that he went for wool and came home shorn. Luan Zhuan, original ancestor. A golden figure came out of nothingness and looked indifferently at Luan Zhuan, original ancestor's thought figure. Luan Zhuan, original ancestor's monstrous anger suddenly disappeared, and he respectfully clasped his fist. Lord, the Horn Clan powerhouse let out a majestic voice, interfering with the test of the eternal heaven road. Do you know your crime? This time, I presided over the decision of the eternal temple, but you openly interfered. Where did you put me? The eternal heaven road was jointly opened by all the immortal powerhouses, especially to give hope to those without power and background. And Su Fong broke through the eternal heaven road with the Golden Horn Clan powerhouse's personal permission. Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, interfered with Su Fong in the eternal heaven road test, naturally breaking the rules of the eternal temple. What's more, Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, did it in front of the Golden Horn Clan powerhouse. How could he not be angry? Willingly then did Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, realize that he had made a big mistake. His body trembled, and he hurriedly said, I know my crime. Please forgive me. When that human cultivator finishes the eternal heaven road, I'll deal with you then. Humph! No matter whether that human cultivator succeeds or not, you can't escape punishment. The Golden Horn Clan powerhouse snorted indifferently, and his figure disappeared into nothingness. Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, did not expect to cause such a big trouble. His face was gloomy, and he no longer had the demeanor of an immortal powerhouse. Ice-old ancestor soul, Xing he immortal, and some immortal powerhouses who had conflicts with Luan Zhuan, original ancestor, looked at him gloatingly. Now, Chapter 3299. Su Fong was in the eternal path, so he naturally didn't know that Luan Zhuan Yuan had attacked him and angered the Golden Horn Clan. Su Fong had lost so much of his lifespan, and there were still 3 more steps left. Yin Yang, Fate, and Hongming. Every great path time and space was extremely difficult, so he had to hurry up and recover. At such a critical moment, Su Fong couldn't care about anything else. He urged the sky-piercing Blood King Vine to swallow the 9-flower fine jade pills. Thanks to the 9-flower fine jade pills, which had a miraculous effect on recovering life force that no other pills could compare to, Su Fong swallowed more than 20 pills in one go, and he also swallowed the essence of more than 10 Daozu powerhouses from other clans. His body's withering life force gradually recovered. No, not long after, his body started to burn with the flame of life, and finally, it started to burn. Su Fong's consumed life force started to recover. Although there wasn't an immediate effect, the recovery speed was extremely shocking. 2,997 steps. 3 more steps, and he'll be able to finish the eternal path of heaven. That human cultivator is really heaven-defying. However, he used up a lot of his energy in the karma great path, and he also lost his lifespan. He'll probably stop at 2,998 steps. Outside Tongtian Island, the powerhouses and giants from all clans saw Su Fong break through the karma great path time and space. Although they didn't know what happened to Su Fong in the karma great path time and space, they couldn't help but exclaim. Shock apart from shock, some people were nervous for Su Fong, hoping that he could create a miracle. Also, some people saw that his lifespan was damaged and felt sorry for him. Heaven, the powerhouses of the Universe clan, the Qianyuan clan, and the other 12 clans all shut their mouths. Su Fong's unparalleled strength was only qualified to be commented on by the undying realm powerhouses. Other cultivators, even the Daozu powerhouses, weren't qualified to comment on him, let alone ridicule and abuse him. Precious Tree Goddess looked at Su Fong, and the hatred she had for Su Fong had long disappeared. Instead, she felt a strong sense of regret. She had personally witnessed Su Fong's heaven-defying rise from an ant-like little cultivator to such a shocking level. Naturally, she knew how extraordinary Su Fong was. She had a strong premonition that Su Fong would create a miracle this time and complete the eternal heavens road that no one had ever walked before. Once he completed the eternal heavenly road, it would mean that Su Fong would soar to the heavens, and even immortal rank experts would find it hard to suppress him. Same as time also proved that Su Fong was certain that he could become an undying, and not just any undying. Benshi had such a great opportunity to befriend such a peerless character and even help the precious tree Divine Mother become immortal. Yet she ended up becoming his enemy. How could she not regret it? Here by this time, God Lord 10 Directions had already taken 2,900 steps. He was worthy of being called an immortal realm expert. He had relied on his strength to reach such a height. However, he seemed to have used up a lot of energy. His face was pale, and his aura was weak and disordered. It was obvious that he wouldn't be able to last much longer. A height of 2,900 steps could be considered shocking. However, compared to Su Fong's height, it paled in comparison. Su Fong. Seeing Su Fong sitting cross-legged on the steps in front of him, God Lord 10 Directions' eyes and body began to burn with evil flames. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and powerlessness. Now, he had to admit that the current Su Fong was not someone he could surpass. Su Fong could be considered his successor. Now that his successor had surpassed him, the anger and unwillingness in God Lord 10 Directions' heart turned into evil thoughts, causing him to lose all reason. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Although Su Fong had an astonishing recovery speed, he had only recovered 20 to 30% in a mere 3 days. He looked to be in his early 40s, and there were still some gray hairs on his temples. Before he could recover, a divine power that distorted space shackled him and sent him directly to the 2,998th step. Boom! Everything in front of him instantly changed. Vast amounts of star sand, divided into black and white, filled the entire space-time. Black. The two colors of star sand intertwined, turning the entire space-time into a massive black and white yin-yang space-time. Black. As the white star sand slowly swirled, it made the entire space-time seem like the operation of the heavenly Tao. It contained the supreme truths of yin and yang, wanting to grind everything to death. Su Fong felt like he was in a massive yin-yang millstone. His physical body, Tao palace, Tao heart, and soul were all being wildly torn apart and obliterated. If one could not shatter space-time, they would be ground to dust by the millstone. Su Fong was no stranger to this. When he was undergoing the Tao Lord Tribulation, this yin-yang heavenly tribulation had appeared. No, the power of this yin-yang great Tao space-time, the supreme truths of the operation and evolution of the heavenly Tao, surpassed all other heavenly Taos. It was 10,000 times stronger than the yin-yang tribulation he had experienced. It was on a completely different level. Rumble. Yin. The great yang millstone rumbled as it moved. Nascent soul Dharma body. Black-yellow Dharma body. Heavenly Tao Dharma body. Heavenly coffin Dharma body. Black yang Dharma body. Imperial heaven Dharma body. The supreme battle flag. Su Fang's consumed lifespan had not recovered yet. He did not dare to directly fuse and control the yin-yang great Tao spacetime like before. He could only use defense to stall for time and try to recover as soon as possible. No, it was just to shatter this yin-yang great Tao spacetime. Next, he would enter the destiny great Tao spacetime. Su Fang knew that if he did not recover his lifespan to its peak state, he would not be able to pass this stage. At this moment, he used all his means. His Dharma bodies released their thoughts and used their divine powers to form layers of barriers around him to resist the terrifying yin-yang millstone. Primordial space-time. Then, he did not hesitate to use his primordial chi to form another layer of defense. However, then, he sat cross-legged in the midst of the layers of defense and used all his strength to recover his lifespan. Boom! Boom! The yin-yang spacetime's attacks were endless, constantly wearing down Su Fang's defenses. The defenses of the Dharma bodies trembled as they were compressed and shattered layer by layer. Su Fang's powerful Tao heart and willpower, abundant energy, as well as his grasp of the heavenly Tao's true essence, displayed his powerful strength at this moment. The defense he displayed won him precious time. 1 days, 3 days, 5 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Time passed day by day. No, unknowingly, 3 years had passed. Although Su Fang could not kill his way out of the yin-yang great Tao space-time, the power of the heavenly Tao in the space-time could not crush him. Su Fang can't make it. As expected, the human cultivator will stop at the yin-yang great Tao space-time. What a pity. I thought he could create a miracle this time. No one can complete the eternal heavenly road. It will become an iron law that is difficult to break. Outside Tongtian Island, the cultivators of the myriad races did not see Su Fang's figure for a long time. They guessed that he was trapped inside the yin-yang great Tao space-time and could not help but sigh. Everyone was looking forward to the appearance of a miracle to break the iron law that no one could complete the eternal heavenly road. However, how could a miracle appear so easily? High in the sky, those immortal realm experts were also shaking their heads and sighing. The yin-yang great Tao space-time is endless. Su Fang will be crushed sooner or later. Another peerless genius has fallen just like that. The eternal heavenly road is too difficult. It seems that we have to lower the difficulty. Otherwise, it will be meaningless to stay here. Some immortal realm experts sighed, lamenting the fall of a peerless genius. It was not that Su Fang was not strong enough. It was just that the difficulty of the eternal heavenly road was too high. It was almost impossible for cultivators below the immortal realm to complete the eternal heavenly road. Xing He, immortal of the starry sky race of the Tensei people, said with a smile, Xing He, immortal, you can prepare to take out the Annihilation Star River. Xing He, immortal, looked gloomy and said indifferently, it's not the end yet. Don't be happy too early. Ancestor Ice Soul sighed inwardly. It's a pity that Su Fang can't pass this test. He was not only feeling sorry for Su Fang. Once Su Fang died on the eternal heavenly road, the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race would join forces with other immortal realm experts to attack the Leisha original realm, seal it, or even break it. By then, Xuanxin, Su Xianyun, and all the humans would be doomed. Wheel Ancestor Rotation stared at Su Fang, his eyes frozen. His heart was filled with joy and hatred. It's too easy for you to die like this. Humph! I'll shackle your true spirit and let you reincarnate in the path of animals forever. Su Fang stopped. God Lord Ten Directions was at the end of his rope. He burned his origin to finally reach the karma great Tao space-time, but he was trapped in countless karma threads. 1 As the threads of karma were severed, more and more threads of karma were drawn out. The threads of karma crisscrossed through space-time like spiderwebs, trapping the divine lords of 10 directions within. Another 5 years. Su Fong used up more than half of the 9-flower jade pills he had. The corpses of the outsider Tao ancestors had been completely devoured by him, and they were completely reduced to ashes, while his life force finally recovered to its peak state. He was at the peak of his life force when he was 17 years old. Such crazy devouring allowed Su Fong to recover in a short time, but it would definitely bring great side effects to Su Fong. No, he couldn't care less now. Thanks to the heaven-swallowing insect, Su Fong wouldn't have been able to hold on for so long. Every time Su Fong's nebulous primordial energy was almost depleted, the heaven-swallowing insect would spit out threads and turn them into primordial energy. Then, the heaven-swallowing insect would start devouring all kinds of Xian Bao and spiritual items in Su Fong's storage ring to recover. Su Fong had killed countless foreign experts and obtained their treasures and resources. In addition, he had obtained part of the inheritance of the Rei Zegu people after the 6th heaven of the Thunder Lake original realm. Otherwise, given the heaven-swallowing insect's devouring ability, it could have devoured an entire treasure mountain. It was thanks to his own abilities and countless resources that Su Fong was able to recover to his peak state in less than 10 years. Boom! Su Fong started to withdraw his defenses. Chapter 3300. Hey, Su Fong is fighting back against the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space. He's back to his peak state again. His recovery speed is incredible. He was not shackled in the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space for so long. He was just stalling for time to recover. I thought he was struggling at death's door. I didn't expect him to be accumulating power. His strength and Tao heart are extraordinary. All the immortal realm experts were surprised by the scene in the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space. Ancestor Ice Soul stroked his beard and laughed. It seems that I underestimated Su Fong's will and ability. He might be able to create a miracle this time. Shang He of the stellar race became spirited. Not only did I save my Oblivion Star River, but I also won a primordial heavenly treasure. Ha ha! Ancestor Zhuan, the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people, and the immortal realm experts of the Qinyuan clan were silent. In the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space, it was not easy for Su Fong to integrate the entire time and space and use the power of the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space to shatter the entire time and space. He withdrew his defense and was immediately shackled by the terrifying power of the Yin-Yang Great Path. The power of the Yin-Yang Great Path rushed into his body and Tao Palace like a torrent, trying to grind him into ashes and vanish. There is also the astonishing will of the heavenly Tao that wanted to obliterate his Tao heart and soul, turning them into ashes. Oomph. Su Fong let out a muffled groan and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with pain. Boom! Boom! In the power of the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space flooded into the Tao Palace, causing a great shock. Su Fong activated the primordial qi and shrouded the power of the Great Path in the Tao Palace. Then, he quickly integrated and controlled it. The terrifying power of the Great Path in his body was also dissolved and integrated by the primordial qi and life energy that Su Fong had penetrated into his body. As for Su Fong's Tao heart, will, and origin soul, the Great Path Time and Space could not affect them at all. In the power of the Yin-Yang Great Path Time and Space was indeed shocking. Su Fong had opened his body in Tao Palace and did not use his defense. The Tao Palace was shaking violently. The insides of his body were also being destroyed layer by layer. He was in a heavily injured state, and his life force was being consumed at an astonishing rate. All Daozu, sacrifice a portion of your life for me. He transmitted his thoughts to his subordinates inside the dark yellow Dharmakaya. In order to break through the eternal heavenly road, Su Fong had placed all the Daozu experts under his command inside the mysterious yellow celestial body. And on the eternal heavens road, although he couldn't let his subordinates display their strength, he could borrow their life force. For those subordinates, No one dared to defy the will of Su Fong, and they all infiltrated the mysterious yellow embodiment with their life force. Ran then, with the help of the power of the black and yellow Dharma body, it penetrated into Su Fong's body layer by layer and merged with his body. After obtaining the life force of over 50 Daozu experts in one go, Su Fong's life force, which had been rapidly declining, suddenly became vigorous again, and the severe injuries on his body also began to heal rapidly. He persisted for about 6 hours. Su Fong's body and Tao Palace were filled with the power of the Yin-Yang Heavenly Tao. However, Su Fong's aura was also present. Su Fong's entire body seemed to have become a part of the Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time, and the attacks of the Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time on him began to weaken rapidly. Then, Su Fong began to release his will, aura, and energy, which spread and permeated the surroundings until it covered the entire Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time. 10%, 2%, done. 30%. After about half a month, Su Fong finally completely merged the entire Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time. Even the heavenly Tao can't shackle me, Su Fong. Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time, break for me. Fong let out a lofty voice, and his will, which was like the heavenly Tao, suddenly exploded. Rumble. Ran. Under Su Fong's control, the Yin-Yang Great Millstone began to operate according to his will and finally shattered the entire space-time. Ran. Fong let out a long roar full of joy and reappeared on the steps. Just like that, Su Fong passed the 2,998th step, and he was only 2 steps away from the end of the eternal heavenly road. Su Fong stood proudly on the steps, looking at the sky with an unruly look in his eyes, as if he was challenging the Qian Yuan clan, the Tensei people, and Luan Zhuan Yuan ancestor. Arrogant. Luan Zhuan Yuan ancestor let out a cold snort. Qian Yuan ancestor, the Yuan clan, the Tensei people, and the immortal realm experts of the other 12 clans didn't look too good. Xing He, the immortal realm expert of the Sky Clan, smiled at the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people and said, "Your Excellency, shouldn't you prepare to take out your primordial heavenly treasure?" The 7th ancestor of the universe clan snorted. There is still fate in primordial heavenly space-time. Unless the human cultivator can defy the heavens and change his fate, he won't be able to reach the end. The youth of the Qian Yuan clan also snorted. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. Let the human be happy for a while. When the time comes, he'll die even more miserably. Whoosh! The immortal realm expert of the Horn clan walked out of the void. He couldn't sit still after seeing Su Fong break through the Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time. Bright light rolled around Su Fong, and the immortal realm expert of the Golden Horn clan said, "This boy has cultivated the Destiny Dharma body and mastered the Fate Great Tao space-time. It's difficult for him to shackle the Destiny Great Tao space-time, but he'll have to pay a huge price. The supreme primordial heavenly Tao space-time is his toughest test. I hope he can reach the end." Outside Tongtian Island. Look, when they saw Su Fong break through the Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time, all the cultivators from the 10,000 clans were shocked. They thought Su Fong would stop here, but Su Fong could break through the Yin-Yang Great Tao space-time after 8 years of silence. How could they not be surprised? Look, Godmaster of 10 Directions was still trapped in the Karma Great Tao space-time. Countless karma threads had already swallowed him up. That Qian Yuan cultivator is finished. This guy is really extraordinary. He has few opponents under the immortal realm. Unfortunately, this is the eternal heavenly road. Everyone sighed when they saw God Master of 10 Directions trapped in the Karma Great Tao space-time. Until the immortal realm expert of the Qian Yuan clan didn't even look at God Master of 10 Directions after he was shackled by the karma threads. Domain. He was just a pawn. He had planned to use him to suppress Su Fong and break Su Fong's Tao heart, but it seemed impossible now. So what if he died? Su Fong sat cross-legged on the steps and used the 9-flower jade pill to recover quickly. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Next is the Destiny Great Tao space-time. I'm the master of my destiny. Even the heavenly Tao can't stop me. Su Fong suddenly stood up from the stairs and took a step forward. A kind of domineering aura spontaneously arose at this moment. First, after taking the 2,999 steps, he immediately fell into an empty, ethereal space-time. Star sand filled the sky. Around Su Fong in the sky, and under his feet, it was all empty star sand. Specks of stars and converged together to form a vast river that was indistinct, illusory, and illusory. It seemed to be true, yet wasn't, and it flowed endlessly like the river of destiny. Su Fong was trapped in the river of destiny. He had no past, no present, and no future. The only thing he could do was float with destiny. Hua, hua, hua. Above Su Fong, the star sand danced and surged, condensing into ethereal chains of destiny. They pierced through the star sand and landed on Su Fong's body, shackling his destiny. Su Fong felt that every time a chain of destiny wrapped around his body, he couldn't escape the control of destiny. His body kept sinking deeper into the river of destiny. He tried to struggle out of the river of destiny, but he was shackled by layers of chains. The power of destiny that couldn't be defied surged out from his surroundings, forcing him to sink into the river of destiny. A person's destiny is determined from the moment they are born. Cultivators and cultivators must break free from the shackles of destiny. Break the shackles of destiny. Go against the heavens. Change one's destiny. Control one's destiny. And change one's future. I started as a mortal in the Pansong universe and rose against the heavens. I stepped on the bones of powerful enemies and finally reached the supreme peak today. I changed my destiny time and time again. But in reality, my destiny is still bound and controlled by the heavenly Tao. If I want to become immortal and exist with the heavenly Tao, not only must I sever all ties and forget emotions and surpass the limits of life, but most importantly, I have to break free from the shackles of destiny. Although destiny is difficult to go against and change, I have cultivated the Tao and attained the Tao in cultivation. Coupled with the fact that I have cultivated the heavenly mandate Dharma body and grasped the power of destiny, it's not difficult to break free from the space-time of the great Tao of destiny. But in this way, I will definitely consume a lot of my lifespan. The difficulty of the final space-time of the path of eternity will multiply. I might fail at the last step. Fong's heart was as calm as water. He wasn't in a hurry to rush out of the river of destiny. Instead, he floated with the river of destiny. Whoosh, whoosh. Heavy chains of fate descended upon his body. They were densely packed and stacked layer upon layer, firmly shackling his fate. However, he was completely unaware of it. Gao in the sky, many immortal rank experts saw Su Fong floating in the river of fate, and they were all surprised and confused. That Goldhorn race expert said in surprise, Logically speaking, the human cultivator grasped the grand Tao of destiny, so it shouldn't be difficult for him to escape the shackles of destiny and charge out of the grand Tao of destiny. Why did he fall into it instead? Original ancestor Luan Zhuan said in a gloomy voice, perhaps he knows that his destiny is hard to go against, so he is willing to hand over the control of his destiny. He is willing to accept his fate and eventually fall into eternal oblivion before he finished speaking. However, Su Fong, who was floating in the river of destiny, suddenly opened his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly to form a wisp of a faint smile. You have to pay the price for going against the heavens and changing fate. Since I can't go against heaven's will, why should I go against heaven's will? There's no need for me to go against the heavens and change my fate because I am the heavens. My fate will naturally be decided by me. It's hard to go against heaven's will. I am heaven's will. Fong's voice, like the voice of the heavenly Tao, reverberated in the vast space-time of the great Tao of destiny. A supreme will and domineering aura of I am heavens will suddenly erupted at this moment. Tight. Chapter 3301. The eyes of the Golden Horn clan expert shone brightly. This lad is so domineering. He actually merged his own fate with the heavenly Tao. His own fate is the mandate of heaven. He used this method to transcend the shackles of fate. Extraordinary. If this lad can take the last step and complete the eternal path of heaven, he will definitely be extraordinary in the future. Defying the heavens and changing one's fate seemed to be defying the mandate of heaven. However, it was actually the cultivator's fate being shackled by the heavenly Tao. Even if he could break free temporarily, he would still sink into his fate. Su Fong merged his fate with the heavenly Tao. He was the mandate of heaven, and the mandate of heaven was him. In this way, his fate would not be shackled. He could control his own fate and go beyond defying the heavens and changing his fate. Such as, how can an ordinary person be so domineering and bold? Wheel Origin ancestor Zhuan said indifferently, "I'm afraid that his Tao heart is not stable and his will is not strong enough. He will be assimilated by the great Tao of destiny and his fate will vanish. In the end, not even a trace of his existence will be left." What Origin ancestor Zhuan said was the truth. Even the Golden Horn clan expert could not refute it. Inside the great Tao of destiny, Su Fong scattered his fate into the river of fate. In an instant, the majestic and emotionless will of the heavenly Tao seeped into his empty fate, wanting to dominate his body, his Tao palace, his soul, his consciousness, and everything else. Once controlled by the will of heaven, it meant that Su Fong's fate would completely disappear. It was like a drop of water melting into the river. Su Fong's fate could no longer be found. Even more so, all traces of his existence in the real world would be erased. How could Su Fong not have anything to rely on when he dared to do this? Hu, the life lamp burned in the Tao Palace. It made his origin soul unextinguishable. Even the will of heaven could not erase it. His immortal Tao heart was completely open. It could accept and bear everything. Even the will of heaven could not shake it. Instead, it was contained by his Tao heart. His was not extinguished. Su Fong's consciousness remained clear. He controlled his own fate. Gradually, the river of destiny no longer affected him. Like a fish swimming in the water, the fish became a part of the water. Naturally, the water would not form any shackles on the fish. The chains that shackled Su Fong's fate also began to loosen gradually, and then began to collapse. Fate, the star sand in the space-time of the great Tao of luck, gradually turned into nothingness as the Su Fong fused with the mandate of heaven and eventually disappeared. The river of fate then vanished into nothingness. Su Fong returned to reality, and his figure reappeared. He appeared to be completely unscathed, and his aura became more and more illusory. It felt as if his fate was connected to the heavenly Tao. Just like that, Su Fong passed through the most illusory space of the Grand Tao of Destiny on the 2,999 steps without any mishap. Gao in the sky. The Goldhorn race Undying's eyes gleamed, scanning Luan Huan Yuan ancestor, the Tensei people, and the Gan Yuan Undyings. Whirling, he then said in a dignified voice, "Not only did this child obtain the transcendence of fate, he is also connected to the heavenly Tao. It is as if he has the will of the heavens. Although he does not have the cultivation of the immortal realm, he is no different from an immortal realm cultivator. No one can erase his fate. If you still want to suppress him, I'm afraid you'll have to carefully consider the consequences." The reason why the Goldhorn clan expert said so was because he cherished talent. On the one hand, he was an undying fighter of one of the three supreme royal families. In order to protect the power and position of the supreme royal families, he naturally had to find an opportunity to beat up the chaos upper families like the Universe clan and the Heaven Yuan clan. Most of the Undyings were silent. No one dared to challenge the dignity of the three supreme royal families. However, although many of the Undyings did not dare to refute the Goldhorn clan, they actually sneered in their hearts. They could not erase Su Fong's fate, but they could seal him and imprison him in the heavenly Tao of void forever. On Tongtian Island, on the peak of the central mountain, The elder in front of the cottage had a strange light in his eyes. He clicked his tongue and sighed. I can't believe I actually saw someone pass through the Eternal Heaven Road, outside Tongtian Island. There was another wave of exclamations. That, some of the Tensei people and the Ganyuan clan were all trembling, looking at Su Fong in disbelief. Impossible. No cultivator can walk through the entire Eternal Heaven Road. There's still the last stage. That human cultivator will definitely die on the 3,000th step. Some of the Tensei people and the Ganyuan clan's cultivators kept cursing in their hearts, but they did not dare to say it out loud. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the stairs with his eyes closed, making the final preparations for the final stage. On the second day, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked down the stairs. His gaze penetrated the space-time barrier and saw God Master of 10 Directions. God Master of 10 Directions was shackled by countless threads of karma. The more he struggled, the more karma he triggered. God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse was formed by evil karma. Evil karma was one of the biggest karmas for cultivators. It involved countless karmas, and they were not ordinary ones. Because that was why God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse, could not break free from the shackles of the space-time of the great Tao of Karma. But Su Fong was different. He had cut off the 3 corpses and cut off the karma, evil karma, and good karma. Even if he did not master the great Tao of fate, he could easily cut off all karma, unless those undyings interfered. Seeing God Master of 10 Directions powerless to struggle, Su Fong let out a sigh in his heart. I did not expect God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse, to be trapped in endless karma in such a way. In the end, he will die on the Eternal Heaven Road. God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse, who once almost destroyed the entire human race, will end up like this. It is truly lamentable. Whoosh! However, God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse, let out a roar filled with despair and unwillingness. I'm only one step away from the peak of the Great Tao. I cannot accept this. Whoosh! God Master of 10 Directions' body started to burn with evil flames. His body and soul were burning fiercely. He had realized that he could not break free from the karma shackles and did not want to die in humiliation. He had chosen to burn himself to end everything. Everything was burning. All the karma had lost its place to attach to, and the threads of karma were quickly broken. It burned for nearly 2 hours. God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse, had completely turned into a man of fire. Everything, including fate, was about to be completely burned away. The evil aura was completely gone. Su Fong, you have won. Everything you have came from my Jiuxuan, everlasting scripture. Therefore, I have not lost. If there is a next life, I will definitely defy the heavens and step onto that supreme peak. God Master of 10 Directions, who was nearing death, regained his normal consciousness and let out an arrogant and wild laugh. His laughter grew weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared completely. The flames also gradually extinguished. The surrounding space of the great Tao of Karma also started to collapse and turn into nothingness. There is nothing wrong with God Master of 10 Directions, Evil Corpse. There is no right or wrong in this world. Su Fong sighed in his heart once again. Great! His enemy had finally died. However, he did not feel any joy in his heart. Instead, he was filled with sorrow. Whoosh! A black Xian Guang flashed out of God Master of 10 Directions' ashes. It was God Master of 10 Directions' primordial heaven treasure, the heaven-burying divine steel. God Master of 10 Directions' Evil Corpse had died, but the heaven-burying divine steel was still intact. However, it had become an ownerless object. Boom! Boom! God! Boom! The heaven-burying divine steel tried to rush out of the eternal heavens road, but it could not break through the shackles. Many immortal realm experts in the sky looked at the heaven-burying divine steel with greedy eyes. Seeing that your master is also an extraordinary genius, I will give you freedom. Go and find your next master. Then, the immortal realm expert from the Golden Horn race sighed faintly. He raised his hand and pointed at the eternal heavens road. The void rippled, and a whirlpool appeared. Bury. The heaven-burying divine steel rushed into the whirlpool and disappeared without a trace. God, master of 10 directions, I hope you can reincarnate. Su Fong slowly closed his eyes. His Tao heart became calm again. After resting on the steps for 3 days, Su Fong slowly stood up. The last step is the supreme space of the great Tao of primordial heaven. Once you cross it, you'll be able to complete the entire eternal heavens road and reach the eternal shrine. Su Fong revealed a lofty expression. He took a step forward and landed on the 3,000th step. That human cultivator will create an unprecedented miracle on the 3,000th step. Once he crosses it, he will soar into the sky and become famous. If he doesn't, he will die. Whether he dies at the last step or rises against the heavens, success or failure will depend on this step. All the other race cultivators outside Clear Sky Island became nervous. They stared at the last step without blinking. Even the immortal realm experts in the sky were looking at Su Fong attentively. Some were looking forward to it, while others were disdainful. The moment Su Fong stepped onto the 3,000th step, he felt like he had stepped into an illusory space from reality. Everything around him was still. There was no past, present, or future. Naturally, there was no time. Here, an instant was an eternity, and eternity was an instant. There was no space, no light, no matter, no energy, and no heavenly Tao laws. The moment Su Fong entered, his entire body was shackled. It was as if he was sealed in an eternally still space. Everything about him was still. The only thing that could still move was his consciousness. This is the primordial Tao space-time. It is also the heavenly Tao of chaos before the creation of the heavens. If I want to break this space-time, I need to use my strength to split it open. There is no shortcut, and I don't need to use shortcuts. Fong's eyes were filled with dominance. He actually planned to use his own strength to create a heavenly Tao of his own in this heavenly Tao of chaos that had nothing. His mind moved, because it was like the heavenly Tao. Jiuquan's limitless sutra level 8 cultivation realm was at the limit of the Daozu. Together with the primordial qi, it exploded from his body, shattering the surrounding shackles and breaking the surrounding peace. Great returning to ruins technique. A chaotic mirror quickly condensed in front of Su Fong. The chaotic Xianguang in the mirror surged wildly. A supreme will of the heavenly Tao that could destroy and end everything was brewing within. Clang. Chapter 3302. A will and principle that were completely opposite to the previous will erupted from the mirror along with a chaotic Xianguang. 10,000 things were born, and 10,000 laws were born. The heavenly Tao created and evolved the power of the heavenly Tao, instantly covering the entire primordial Tao space-time. Originally, there was nothing in space-time. Now there was time and space. However, then, it evolved from nothingness into yin and yang, and then into the 4 divisions. Thunder roared, giving birth to energy and matter. Evolving 10,000 laws, creating all things. Great creation technique. Bang! As the piece of the primordial Tao space-time was broken, an extremely weak golden light appeared in the deepest part of space-time. That is the end of the eternal heavenly road. Su Fong's eyes suddenly became resolute and bright as he stepped into the air. With every step, a chaotic lotus would surge out from under his feet. It contained 10,000 laws, as if flowers of the heavenly Tao were blooming under his feet. 3 after 1,000 steps, Su Fong appeared in front of a golden light screen and stepped forward without hesitation. His body passed through the light screen. Out now. In front of him was a dazzling palace floating in the void. Palace on the plaque in front of the palace. There were 2 golden divine words that contained endless heavenly Tao and supreme will of the heavenly Tao. Eternal, eternal. Eternal, eternal shrine. Su Fong crossed the 3,000 great Tao space-time and broke through layers of obstacles. He finally finished the eternal heavenly road and arrived in front of the eternal shrine. Eternal shrine. Su Fong looked at the eternal shrine that was emitting brilliant heavenly power. His eyes flashed with a bright light, and his heart surged with great joy and unparalleled pride and confidence. Finishing the eternal heavenly road meant that he had once again surpassed a mountain. From then on, he could be listed in the eternal shrine and be on par with the immortal powerhouses. Same as this also meant that the Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the 12 races would no longer be able to suppress him. The crisis between him and the human race would also be resolved. Since the eternal heavenly road was opened, countless peerless geniuses have been unable to finish the eternal heavenly road and eventually died on it. However, Su Fong had created an unprecedented miracle. It was enough to prove his strength and ability to the 10,000 races. How could Su Fong not be happy and excited at this time? How could he not feel proud of himself? Outside Clear Sky Island, seizing the opportunity, a moment later, a tsunami of exclamations and praises erupted. Those experts and giants, who were usually high and mighty and incomparably dignified, were now shocked and exclaiming like ordinary people. No one has ever completed the Eternal Heavens Road, but a human cultivator has done it. That human cultivator defied the heavens and rose to power. Even immortal realm experts couldn't stop him. Not only Su Fong, but the entire human race will rise with him. Among the myriad of races, there will also be a place for the human race. With the Su Fong leading the rise of the human race, there will definitely be bloodshed. I wonder which races will suffer. Countless experts looked at Su Fong with reverence in their eyes, as if they were looking at an immortal expert, and a powerful one at that. Also, someone was trembling in fear. Biff, for example, the precious tree, godmother, and the cultivators of the 12 races. We miscalculated. The heavenly tree race has completely miscalculated this time. With Su Fong's personality, how could he let the heavenly tree race go so easily? The precious tree godmother was so anxious that even her intestines were green with regret. The cultivators of the two races were even more frightened and panicked than the precious tree godmother. Although the Mayfly race, three-eyed black demon race, and the other races all had immortal realm experts, their overall strength was far inferior to the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race. The 12 races had almost exterminated the human race. The hatred of extermination was almost impossible to resolve. Once Su Fong became immortal realm, even immortal realm experts would find it difficult to stop him. Heaven, the cultivators of the Eternity race and the Qianyuan race weren't as panicked as the 12 races, but their expressions were frighteningly gloomy. This time, the two high races had been utterly humiliated. Everyone from the top to the bottom had been thoroughly humiliated. Under the gaze of the myriad races, Su Fong finished the Eternal Heavens Road. At this moment, Su Fong's name shook the myriad races. Inside the Eternal Temple, many immortal realm experts retracted their consciousnesses. Although they looked calm, their hearts were surging with waves. Su Fong's performance on the Eternal Heavens Road had shocked these immortal realm experts. The most conflicted immortal realm expert was none other than Ice Soul Ancestor. He was happy for Su Fong's rise. On the other hand, he regretted driving Xuanxin and Su Xinyan out of the Ice Soul Holy Clan. Although he had no choice but to do it under the pressure of the two great chaotic races, Su Fong would definitely be estranged. How could Ice Soul Ancestor not regret it? The immortal realm experts of the Sky Race were probably the happiest. At the Sky Race, Undying had expressed their goodwill to Su Fong when he was challenging the Starry Sky path of 10,000 arts. With Su Fong's shocking performance this time, he would definitely become an immortal realm expert in the future. And he would be a powerful immortal realm expert above ordinary immortal realm experts. To be able to get close to such a powerful figure was a great thing for any race. Mo Xinghe of the Sky Race was the happiest. He looked at the immortal realm experts of the Tensei people with a big smile. How could he not be happy when he got a primordial heavenly treasure? No, Immortal realm experts didn't care about external objects or forces, but a primordial heavenly treasure was a different story. No one would complain about having too many treasures. Even if he couldn't use it himself, it would be a great treasure for the Sky race. Sky, the immortal realm masters of the Universe clan, and the Qian Yuan clan all looked gloomy. They felt as if they had been slapped in the face. They had spent a lot of effort and used a lot of connections to push through the Eternal Temple's decision. But Su Fong, how could a mere human cultivator retaliate in such an arrogant and overbearing manner? The two immortal beings of the upper races were naturally embarrassed. From now on, the two great chaotic races would become the laughingstock of all races. The immortal realm experts' Dao hearts were like the sky. Losing some face was nothing to them. But to the two great chaotic races, it was a big loss. No, just the loss of face and the dignity of the two great chaotic races would be damaged. It would be difficult for them to deter all races, and they would lose a lot of real benefits. Two, the immortal realm experts of the two great chaotic races were not in a good mood. The one who was in the worst mood was the seventh elder of the Tensei people. Not to mention the loss of a primordial heavenly treasure. The conflict with Su Fong was caused by him. From now on, his reputation and status among the Tensei people would be damaged. The seventh ancestor of the Heavenly Ian clan felt increasingly irritated by Xing He's complacent gaze. His killing intent towards Su Fong grew even more intense. So what if you've completed the Eternal Heavenly Road? So what if you're listed in the Eternal Temple? I still have the power to seal the original realm of Luai's and destroy your Dao path. You'll never be able to become an immortal realm expert. The Tensei people are the heavens. If you and the human race want to go against the heavens, you'll be crushed into powder. Then the seventh elder of the Tensei people started to transmit his godly thoughts to the Qian Yuan race and the other 12 races. This made him even angrier. Except since the Qian Yuan race was determined to deal with Su Fong, some of the immortal realm experts of the other 12 races refused to continue fighting with Su Fong. Some declined politely, and some were hesitant. Everyone, Gold, the voice of the Horn race, attracted the attention of many immortal realm experts. Your previous decision to cancel all the rights of the Reizega people in the Eternal Temple is meaningless now. Therefore, I've decided to cancel this decision. What do you think? No one objected to the decision of the Horn race's immortal realm expert. No, what else could they do? They would take away all the rights of the Reizega people in the Eternal Temple. After Su Fong finished the Eternal Path of Heaven, he was qualified to be listed in the Eternal Temple and enjoy the same status and rights as an immortal realm expert. The only difference was that Su Fong was no longer an inheritor of the Reizega people, but a human warrior. The decision made by the Tensei people, the Qian Yuan race, and the immortal realm experts of the other 12 races had become a joke. They could only cancel it. Since no one objects, we'll cancel the previous decision. The Golden Horn race immortal nodded. Then he looked outside the palace and said in a majestic voice, "Human Su Fong, come in." Su Fong, who was waiting outside the Eternal Temple, was shocked. He raised his head and strode to the entrance of the Eternal Temple. The next moment. The next step not only meant that Su Fong had reached the peak, but also meant that the human race was qualified to stand proudly among the 10,000 races. He calmed his breathing, and his Dao heart returned to its tranquil state. Then he walked into the palace. Shua, 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 shua. As soon as he entered the inner space of the palace, everyone looked at Su Fong. Su Fong entered calmly, and his divine light swirled in the inner space. Then he cupped his fists and bowed to the center. Su Fong of the human race, greetings to the Golden Horn race, immortals and immortals. The Golden Horn race immortal nodded and said, "Sit." He pointed to the outer space, and a futon that was exactly the same as the other immortals appeared. Su Fong walked over and sat cross-legged on the futon. Soul Ancestor was the first to speak. Su Fong, congratulations. Xing He of the Galaxy race also smiled and said, "Su Fong, do you still remember me? From now on, you're on the same level as the other immortals. Congratulations." Except for the Tensei people and the Qin Yuan race immortals, the other immortals all congratulated Su Fong. There were very few immortals among the 10,000 races in the chaos. Now that there was a new face in the Eternal Temple, these immortals had to congratulate him. Su Fong stood up again and cupped his fists. "Thank you, seniors." The Golden Horn race immortal made a hand sign, and a golden token flew out. However, Chapter 3303. This is your Hong Meng token, and also your identity token in the Eternal Shrine. You'll know its use after merging with it. The Golden Horn Undying explained to Su Fong. Su Fong grabbed the token in his hand, then stripped it of its blood and penetrated it with his consciousness. Amazing information poured into his mind. This token itself was an extraordinary Xian Bao, and it was not weaker than an innate Hong Meng heavenly treasure. The token contained the wills of the 3 supreme royal clans, and it could communicate with the Eternal Shrine and trigger the Eternal Law. In the internal space of the token, there was a powerful space formation. In a critical moment, the token could be directly activated to enter the Eternal Shrine, and even undying beings could not shackle it. For undying beings, this ability was not very useful. After all, undying beings were immortal, and it was difficult to threaten them. However, for Su Fong, it was very useful. With his Hong Meng token, unless the Eternal Shrine made a decision to deprive Su Fong of his rights, even undying beings could not suppress him. This was the most basic function of the token. The token was also an identity token. With the Eternal Token, Su Fong had the right to make decisions and appeal in the Eternal Shrine. Don't underestimate this right. When it came to the interests of the race of the undying being, Su Fong would become the target of all parties to rope him in when the decision had to be made in the Eternal Shrine. Same as with the Eternal Token, Su Fong had the right to decide the fate of all races. Su Fong also got a lot of information from the token, and it was all about the rules of the Eternal Shrine. Su Fong of the human race, take your time to comprehend the Eternal Token. There's one more thing. The Golden Horn Undying said to Su Fong, "Take his divine light rolled around Luan Zhuan." When you were in the time and space of karma, Luan Zhuan interfered. Although it did not cause you any consequences, it violated the law of heaven. It started with you, and I want to hear your opinion on how to deal with it. Luan Zhuan. Su Fong looked at Luan Zhuan, who was sitting cross-legged on a futon in front of him. Luan Zhuan sent Terror Ancestor to try to break the seal of Shixian Mountain and release the 10 Directions God Master, Evil Corpse. Not Ancestor Fruit Terror was killed by Su Fong. In his anger, Ancestor Luan Zhuan, Origin Ancestor, actually captured Shixian Daozu's true spirit and controlled Daozu's reincarnation. Son of previously, in the Karma Great Tao space-time of the Eternal Heavenly Road, Origin Ancestor Luan Huan tried to use karma to destroy the Su Fong. Between Su Fong and Luan Zhuan Origin Ancestor, it could be said that there was a deep hatred. Unexpectedly, Su Fong completely didn't expect that the Goldhorn clan would actually uphold justice for him. Origin Ancestor Luan Zhuan was a person who sought revenge for the smallest grievance. Wasn't Su Fong the same? Since Ancestor Zhuan had grasped the truth of reincarnation, even if Su Fong ascended to the immortal realm, it would be hard for him to take revenge and save Shixian Daozu's reincarnation. Now that there was a heaven-sent opportunity in front of them, Su Fong naturally wouldn't let it go. Slightly after thinking for a while, Su Fong said, "I've just entered the Eternal Shrine, and I'm a junior. Although Ancestor Luan Zhuan Origin Ancestor has repeatedly targeted me and wanted to kill me, I don't want to make things too difficult for him. Ancestor Luan Zhuan Origin Ancestor, please let my master go, and this matter will be over." The Horn Clan Great being asked in surprise, "What's the matter?" Fong recounted the past in full detail in front of everyone. Luan Zhuan Origin Ancestor was domineering and vengeful. Many immortals knew that his behavior was not strange at all. Although they felt disdain for what he had done to Su Fong, no one said anything to reprimand him. The Goldhorn clan Undying looked at Luan Zhuan Origin Ancestor. "Luan Zhuan, Su Fang's request is not excessive. Why don't you let his master go, and I won't pursue the matter of you breaking the rules and offending me. What do you think? That human cultivator is a slave that I spend a lot of energy to cultivate. He will definitely become an immortal in the future. How can I let him go so easily? I violated the rules of heaven and offended you. Please punish me, and I'll take it. As for letting him go, humph, don't even think about it. Luanjuan origin ancestor was still domineering and refused the Goldhorn clan unceremoniously. After that, the figure of origin ancestor Luan Huan turned into a divine light and disappeared from the eternal shrine without a trace. Humph! The Horn clan, undying, snorted, and a layer of frost appeared on his face. He was a great being of the supreme royal clan. He was humiliated by Luanjuan origin ancestor in public, so he was naturally furious. Su Fang was disappointed, and his killing intent towards Luanjuan origin ancestor became stronger. I will punish Linjuan origin ancestor according to the rules of heaven. This is the end of the discussion. Let's go. The Goldhorn clan, undying, stood up, waved his hand, and disappeared into nothingness. His undying beings left one after another. Ice Soul ancestor, Universe clan, undying beings, and many other undying beings all transmitted their divine thoughts to Su Fang. Some sent invitations to Su Fang, and some left runes to show their goodwill. It was obvious that they wanted to rope him in. These immortal realm masters were all supreme masters of the 10,000 races. They were high and mighty, but at this moment, they all treated Su Fang as an equal. Human ant, you are very powerful and proud now. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people suddenly transmitted his divine thoughts to Su Fang. Su Fang's eyebrows twitched. God, the seventh ancestor of the Universe clan continued. Don't think that you can turn over a new leaf after entering the eternal shrine. The Tensei people will step on you sooner or later, and you will never be able to turn over a new leaf. The enemies who tried to step on Su Fang's head were all stepped on by me in the end, becoming stepping stones for me to reach a higher peak. Su Fang replied unceremoniously. Let's wait and see. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people sneered and then left with the other Tensei people. Su Fang of the human race. I am Tai Hun Tian of the Tai Hun race. Su Fang had just finished his conversation with the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people when a majestic voice rang in his mind. Tai Hun race? Su Fang had heard of it before. Mixed, there were more than 10,000 races in the primal chaos. There were countless races in the primal chaos. However, there were not many high races in the primal chaos. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan race were both high races in the primal chaos, and the Tai Hun race was one of them. Su Fang had heard of the Tai Hun race before, but he had never had any dealings with them. He did not know why the Tai Hun race had transmitted his divine thoughts. Su Fang looked at a middle-aged cultivator sitting cross-legged on a futon in front of him. He had a pair of bat-like pointy ears and was covered in a gray robe. He was also a powerful, undying being, and he was not weaker than the one from the Golden Horn race. Su Fang hurriedly replied, Senior, what can I do for you? The undying being named Tai Hun Tian continued. When I saw the Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the Lunjuan ancestor bully you, I felt that it was unfair. Thank you, Master. Su Fang could not help but feel puzzled. He did not expect the undying being to be so kind. I saw that you were an unparalleled genius, and I could not bear to see you being bullied by the high races. Therefore, I wanted to help you. As long as you and the human race are willing to submit to me, I can help you stop the Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the Luanjuan ancestor. Tai Hun Tian finally revealed his intentions. He wanted Su Fang to submit to him. Su Fang replied, I've always been free and undisciplined, so I do not wish to submit to any great beings or powers. Please forgive me, Master. What a joke. How could Su Fang submit to others? Oomph. Tai Hun Tian snorted coldly. After a pause, Tai Hun Tian continued, Since you are so arrogant and unwilling to submit to me, I will not force you. However, I can make a deal with you. As long as you give me the inheritance of the Reizegu people, I will promise to protect you and the human race. You won't refuse, right? He did not expect that Tai Hun Tian's intention was to get his hands on the inheritance of the Reizegu people. The Luai's ancient clan had once dominated all races. Wherever the supreme battle flag went, all races would submit to it. Although the Luai's ancient clan wasn't as powerful as the three supreme royal clans, it was still more powerful than the other chaotic upper clans. Now, although the Reizegu people had completely disappeared in the river of history, how amazing was the inheritance left by the Reizegu people. Even the undying beings could not help but be jealous. Tai Hun Tian, it was not strange that Tai Hun Tian wanted the inheritance of the Reizegu people. The inheritance of the Reizegu people was the capital of the human race's rise. The Reizegu original realm was the foundation of the human race's survival. How could Su Fong give it away? Clang! He immediately refused. Sorry, I have not obtained all the inheritance of the Reizegu people, and I have no intention of exchanging the inheritance of the Reizegu people for protection from other forces. No wonder you dare to offend the Tensei people and the Qinyuan race. You are indeed arrogant. Don't think that you can sit back and relax after completing the eternal heavenly road and entering the eternal shrine. Sooner or later, you will obediently take the inheritance of the Reizegu people and kneel before me and beg for it. Tai Hun Tian was immediately enraged by Su Fong's blunt rejection. After letting out a threatening sneer, his figure transformed by his thoughts flew away. Think. Can't. Su Fong did not expect that after completing the eternal heavenly road and entering the eternal shrine, he would attract new trouble. Even more, what surprised Su Fong was that after rejecting Tai Hun Tian, another undying great being transmitted his godly thought to him. Su Fong of the human race, I am an undying great being from the Mist Barbarian race. Su Fong could tell that the undying great being's tone was quite unfriendly. He frowned. Senior, what's the matter? You probably don't know about the karma between the Reizegu people and the Mist Barbarian race. The Reizegu people enslaved my race, so we have a blood feud with them. The Mist Barbarian race was originally a vassal race of the Reizegu people. Now that Su Fong had become the inheritor of the Reizegu people, the Mist Barbarian race had come to cause trouble. Su Fong replied indifferently. Senior, what do you want? The undying great being's domineering voice echoed in Su Fong's mind. I don't have any other requests. Just remove the slave imprint that the Reizegu people planted in my race's bloodline and destiny, and give me half of the inheritance of the Reizegu people as compensation. Then, the Mist Barbarian race will live in peace with you and the human race. Chapter 3304. Su Fong replied coldly. What if I don't agree? If you don't agree, humph, I'll have to join forces with the Tensei people and the Qinyuan race. Sooner or later, we'll break into the Reizegu people and take all the inheritance of the Reizegu people. By then, not only will you not get the inheritance of the Reizegu people, but you and the human race will also die. It's up to you to decide. The undying from the Mist Barbarian sneered and left in embarrassment. How dare a slave of the Reizegu people be so arrogant in front of me, the future inheritor of the Reizegu people? You've obtained all the inheritance of the Reizegu people and become the target of many undying beings. However, I, Su Fong, am not a pushover. Su sneered in his heart. However, then he activated the Hong Meng token. Hong, a golden Xian Guang, burst out of the token, wrapped around Su Fong, and disappeared from the eternal shrine. Wait. When Su Fong reappeared, he was already in the sky above Tongtian Island. Su Fong, ice. Ancestor Soul's thought flashed and turned into the figure of an elder in white. I didn't expect you to finish the entire Eternal Heaven Road. Even I have to admire you. Ancestor Ice Soul nodded with a smile and said politely. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. Thank you for your compliment, Senior. Ancestor Ice Soul changed the topic. You're now in the Eternal Shrine. Even undying beings can't do anything to you. However, don't be careless. The Tensei people, the Qinyuan race, and the Lunjuan ancestor won't let this go easily. He was worried that driving Xuanxin and Su Xinyan out of the Ice Soul Holy Clan would cause a rift between Su Fong and Su Fong. Su, not only the Luan Zhuan ancestor and the two higher races, but also the Tai Han race and the Miss Barbarian race, won't let this go easily. Ancestor Ice Soul was shocked. Take Su Fong told Ancestor Ice Soul about Tai Han Tian and the Mist Barbarian Immortal Realm experts' intention to encroach on the Reizega people. Ice Patriarch Soul frowned and sighed. This is going to be troublesome. Fong sneered disdainfully. It doesn't matter. I have the Hong Meng token. Immortal Realm experts can't do anything to me. Who under the Immortal Realm can be my opponent? Ice Soul Forefather shook his head and said, You underestimate the overall power of those high races. You also underestimate their ruthlessness. If they want to deal with you, they will use all kinds of methods to avoid the laws of heaven. In the end, they will use their great power to suppress you. As long as you don't become immortal, they might even kill you. I understand. Thank you for your reminders, sir. He cupped his fists and thanked Ancestor Ice Soul. Even Tai Han Tian and Mist Barbarian Undyings were eyeing the inheritance of the Reizega people. There were probably many others who had the same idea. Besides, the Reizega people had many strong enemies back then. They might be tempted as well. You must be careful. Old Ancestor warned again, before the thought vanished into nothingness. Seems like the Hong Meng token is not enough. Realm Spirit once said that the test of the 8th level of Leisure Original Sector was a powerful trump card left by the Reizega people. Given the glory of the Reizega people back then, their trump card must be extraordinary. It will be enough to help me resolve any danger. Let's go back to Leisure Original Sector first. Fong flashed and left the sky above Tongtian Island. The time and space around Tongtian Island were shackled. The gate of heaven in Leisure Original Sector could not descend, so Su Fong had to leave the island. As soon as he appeared outside Tongtian Island, he caused a huge commotion. That's Su Fong of the human race, the first person to complete the Eternal Heaven Road. Su Fong is mighty. Countless cultivators shouted and shouted Su Fong's name. They looked at Su Fong with reverence and fanaticism. Su Fong nodded and smiled. He was about to activate the Leisure Original Sector's origin aura. Whoosh! Oni figure came from the sky. Unexpectedly, it was the precious tree Divine Mother. Su Fong looked at the precious tree Divine Mother indifferently. Precious tree Divine Mother, I stole the heavenly tree's innate ability last time. Are you planning to take revenge on me? The precious tree Divine Mother smiled bitterly. You just finished the Eternal Heaven Road. Now, your name is known to all. How dare I take revenge on you? I'm here to apologize to you. Su said. Fong was surprised. Apologize? The precious tree Divine Mother took out a Xianguang. There were 3 elixirs in it. They looked similar to the 9-flower jade pill, but they were bigger and had a more terrifying aura. Su Fong sensed the aura of the elixirs and raised his eyebrows. This is a 9-flower jasper pill refined from the celestial tree mother flower, 10 times more powerful than the ones I gave you before. It's even useful to immortal rank experts, so I'll give it to you as a token of my apology. Su Fong did not hesitate. He grabbed the elixir and sucked it into the space inside his body. Then, he said indifferently, Forget it. From now on, I have nothing to do with the heavenly tree race. We won't pursue the past. The precious tree Divine Mother was relieved. Then, she sighed inwardly. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have. The precious tree Divine Mother was already satisfied that Su Fong would stop thinking about the heavenly tree race. She did not dare to mention the heavenly tree vine again for the time being. While Su Fong and the precious tree Divine Mother were talking, the cultivators from all the races looked up at Su Fong. Among the crowd, a golden-haired, lion-faced cultivator suddenly raised his golden eyebrows. After a moment of hesitation, the lion-faced cultivator suddenly roared at Su Fong. Su Fong, I, Lion Roar, the master of the terrifying soul race, challenge you. The voice contained terrifying power. As soon as it came out, the wind rose and clouds surged. The space trembled, shaking the soul. The cultivators of all the races fell silent. Countless gazes filled with shock landed on the lion-faced cultivator. Then there was a flurry of discussion. Is the master of the terrifying soul race crazy? You want to challenge Su Fong? Although the terrifying soul race is not a chaotic upper race and has no immortal experts, it is still a powerful race among the races. The master of the terrifying soul race, Lion Roar, is also a peerless expert with a chance to step into the immortal realm. But he's not enough to challenge Su Fong. The master of the terrifying soul race must be crazy for fame. Su Fong has just finished walking the eternal heavenly road and even has the strength of an immortal. How can he challenge him? He just wants to step on Su Fong's head to make a name for himself. If he has the strength, why doesn't he dare to walk the eternal heavenly road? The human cultivators were shocked and snorted at the lion-faced cultivator's challenge. Su Fong smiled casually and looked down at the lion-faced cultivator. I've finished walking the eternal heavenly road that no one has ever finished before. Now, my name is spread far and wide. You just want to step on my head to make a name for yourself. Why should I agree to your challenge? The lion-faced cultivator then roared. Human cultivator, the terrifying soul race is the slave race of the Rezega people, and you are the inheritor of the Rezega people. In order to break free from the Rezega people's slavery, I'm challenging you, not to make a name for myself. If you really are the inheritor of the Rezega people, you must fight me. The Rezega people's slave race? Su Fong's eyebrows furrowed. The Rezega people used to be a deterrent to all races and had many vassal races. However, Su Fong didn't know much about them. He thought, just as he finished walking the eternal heavenly road, the mist barbarian race appeared in the eternal shrine, and now the terrifying soul race jumped out. However, he wasn't surprised. In the past, he wasn't famous among the races of the primal chaos, and he didn't really receive the inheritance of the Rezega people, so he couldn't be considered the inheritor of the Rezega people. Naturally, he wasn't known by the former slaves of the Rezega people. Now that Su Fong's name had spread far and wide, they naturally jumped out one after another. You're not my match, and I'm not interested in your challenge. Moreover, the Rezega people have been dead for so many years, and your terrifying soul race has already regained your freedom. The reason you want to challenge me is laughable, so you must have other motives. I won't accept your challenge. Su Fong's sharp gaze seemed to be able to see through the lion-faced cultivator's heart. The lion-faced cultivator's heart skipped a beat, and he trembled. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "What? You don't dare!" "Don't dare? Do you have the right to challenge me?" Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. He activated the Luai's original realm's origin sealed inside the Dao Palace, and an aura disappeared into nothingness. The human cultivators discussed animatedly, secretly mocking the lion-faced cultivator for overestimating himself. Boom! Rumble! After a thunderous sound, the heavenly gate condensed from lightning appeared above Su Fong. Su Fong flashed through the heavenly gate and directly entered the Luai's original realm. Su Fong directly appeared in the space-time inside the Luai's original realm, but not in the sixth heaven, but in an unfamiliar space. Vast in the vast space, there were layers of space-time. In each space-time, there were material, mystic realms. Mystic, these realms were filled with boundless spirit chi and ancient origin aura, and the heavenly Tao laws were more profound and profound. In the space-time, the ethereal heavenly Tao seemed to be within reach. This is the seventh heaven of the Luai's original realm? Su Fong was surprised. Realmling's figure slowly appeared, and she nodded at Su Fong and said, "Your Highness, Su Fong has completed the eternal heavenly path, which means that you have completed the test of the seventh heaven. You can enter and exit the seventh heaven with ease. In other words, I can open up a cave abode in the seventh heaven and let all Daozu and Dao saints enter the seventh heaven to cultivate. Although the sixth heaven's cultivation environment was not bad, it was barely enough for Daozu experts to live in. Time too long, it would not be good for cultivation, and it would be very difficult to give birth to more Daozu. Realm the seventh heaven space-time could allow Daozu experts to cultivate, and it also meant that more Daozu experts could be nurtured in the future. Chapter 33:05. Su Fong immediately transmitted his thoughts to the Dongxian Daozu and the other Daozu powerhouses, moving them all to the seventh layer of heaven and allowing them to open up their own cave abodes. Sensing the environment of the seventh layer of heaven, all the human Daozu were overjoyed. Su Fong also moved all the subordinates who were preparing to use the heavenly Dao fruit to break through to the Daozu to the seventh layer of heaven. This way, their chances of breaking through to the Daozu would be higher. However, Su Fong then released all the Daozu subordinates in the Xianwang avatar. These Daozu were all foreign Daozu that Su Fong had suppressed. On the Eternal Heavens Road, they had sacrificed a portion of their lives for Su Fong. Now, all of them looked dispirited. Su Fong took out a large number of pills and spiritual items and distributed them to the Daozu subordinates. Then, he let them find a time and space in the seventh layer of heaven to open up a dojo and cultivate to recover. After settling the Daozu powerhouses, Su Fong couldn't wait to ask, Lord Realm Spirit, you said that the eighth layer of heaven's trial will give us a powerful boost. What is it? Ling chuckled. Don't worry. Let's first redeem the reward of the seventh layer of heaven's trial. It won't be too late to talk about the eighth layer of heaven. At the mention of the reward, Su Fong's spirit immediately became hale and hearty. The reward of each layer of heaven was incomparably shocking. The reward of passing the seventh layer of heaven's trial would definitely be extraordinary. Realm Spirit said, back then, the Reizegu people were incomparably powerful. Wherever the supreme battle flag went, tens of thousands of races would submit. Such a powerful race naturally had countless vassal races, some of which became the Reizegu people's slave races. At the mention of the Reizegu people's slave races, Su Fong immediately thought of the Mist Barbarian race and the Intimidating Spirit race. He asked, Lord Realm Spirit, how many slave races did the Reizegu people have in the past? Not many, only 100 or so races. 100 or so slave races. It's already quite a lot. Realm Spirit glanced at Su Fong and said domineeringly, you probably think that the Reizegu people don't have enough slaves, right? It's not that the Reizegu people don't have the ability to subdue more races. It's just that the Reizegu people don't even care about ordinary races. They don't have the right to be slaves. After a while, Realm Spirit said proudly, these 100 or so slaves were begging the Reizegu people to become slaves. The Reizegu people had no choice but to reluctantly agree because they were loyal and had decent overall strength. More than 100 tribes begging to become the slaves of the Reizegu people? How could the higher-ups of the Zegu clan be so picky and reluctantly accept these slaves? Su Fong was dumbstruck. The strength of the Reizegu people was far beyond his imagination. Realm Spirit continued. I've used the original realm to sense that the Reizegu people have been dead for countless years. Many of their races have already perished. There aren't many races left, only 13 of them. 13 races is quite a lot. However, after so many years, the slaves of the Reizegu people will definitely not continue to serve me, the inheritor of the Reizegu people. Your Highness Su Fong, don't worry. The Reizegu people have planted slave seals in the fate and bloodline of the remaining slaves. Unless they reach the immortal level, they won't be able to get rid of the shackles of the slave seals for generations. Su Fong's eyes suddenly brightened. You mean, if I obtain the inheritance of the Reizegu people, I can control these races? That's right. This is the reward for passing the 7th level heaven of the original realm. Realm Spirit waved his hand and grabbed a Xianguang. Xian the Light enveloped more than 100 blood-colored runes. The blood-colored runes sealed a shocking amount of life, blood energy, and fate energy. Their auras were completely different, but they were all extremely deep and high-level blood energy condensation, as well as the ethereal fate energy. However, some of these blood talismans were gray in color, while others were blood red in color, bright red and glistening. These are the blood runes used to control the slaves. As long as you fuse with these blood runes, you can use the blood runes to control the slaves. Any cultivator with the blood of the slaves will have no choice but to submit. The gray blood runes mean that the slaves have already perished and no bloodline has been passed down. The blood runes that are exuberant with blood energy mean that the race is now extremely powerful and has a large population. Fong sighed. The Reizegu people were so domineering in the past. They used this method to control the slaves. Generations of the slaves will be enslaved by the Reizegu people. He felt a lingering fear in his heart. Human, if the slaves continue to stay in the Jioshuan realm of the gods, they would either perish in the long river of history or be subdued by a powerful race like the slaves of the Reizega people. They would be enslaved by a powerful race for generations. Boundary Spirit snorted. These slaves took the initiative to do so. It has nothing to do with the Reizega people. I'm afraid that the slaves are going back on their word now. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. He happily stored the blood runes in his Dao palace and sealed them. Yes, with these blood runes, he could control the slaves. The power of the human race would soar countless times. It would not be difficult for them to rise among the thousands of races. The Reizega race had such a strong foundation. Even though they had perished for countless years, they still left behind some methods to continue controlling the slaves. Boundary Spirit then reminded Su Fong, Prince Su Fong hasn't reached the undying realm yet. It won't be easy for him to control the slaves. The slaves will not be willing to continue being enslaved by Prince Su Fong. I understand. Of course, Fong understood. Just as soon as he entered the Eternal Shrine, the undying warrior of the Mist Barbarian race jumped out. Not only did he want to get rid of the slave seal, but he also wanted to fight for the inheritance of the Reizega people. As soon as he left the Eternal Shrine, another great being from the spirit race came to challenge him. There are also other races. They would not be willing to be controlled by Su Fong. It would not be easy to completely control the slaves. Then Su Fong asked about the Mist Barbarian race and the spirit race. Boundary Spirit snorted. How dare the Mist Barbarian race and the spirit race be so arrogant? Even if the Mist Barbarian race has an undying warrior, they will still be the slaves of the Reizega people. Unless the undying warrior of the Mist Barbarian race uses a supreme forbidden technique to completely change the bloodline of all the people and change their fate. As for the spirit race, they don't have an undying warrior, so they can't do much. However, Prince Su Fong should be prepared to accept the challenge from the leader of the spirit race. Spirit's words surprised Su Fong. Do I have to accept the challenge from the spirit race? That's right. When the Reizegu people subdued the slaves, they made a very domineering decision. Once the slaves submit to the Reizegu people, they will have to be slaves for generations. If they want to get rid of the Reizegu people, they will have to defeat the strongest of the Reizegu people. With the strength of the Reizegu people back then, which slave race warrior can defeat the strongest of the Reizega people? And no one dares to challenge them. Right now, only Prince Su Fong is the inheritor of the Reizega people. If there is a slave race warrior who challenges you, only you can accept the challenge. Su Fong understood. While receiving the inheritance of the Reizega people, he also had to take on the responsibility of the Reizega people. No, with his current strength, no one below the undying level could match him. He could even fight normal undying. Naturally, he was not afraid of any challenges. Su Fong continued, Don't worry about the slaves for now. You said before that when you reach the 8th level of heaven, you will receive the powerful help left by the Reizega people. What is that? This was what Su Fong was most concerned about. Wheelzhuan Yuan ancestor, the Tensei people, the Qinyuan race, Taihun Tian, the Mist Barbarian race, and many other undying warriors who coveted the inheritance of the Reizega people would definitely not give up. So even though Fong was in the Eternal Shrine, it was difficult for him to deal with so many strong warriors and forces. As long as Prince Su Fong passes the 8th level of heaven, other than the 3 supreme royal families, why should we be afraid of the other strong warriors and forces? Spirit smiled domineeringly. Prince Su Fong, follow me. Spirit lets Su Fong leave a part of his consciousness and go to the deepest part of the seventh level of heaven. He entered an independent space that was heavily sealed. Time Sky was a small cave residence condensed from strange chaos materials. Inside, a chaotic Xian Guang floated inside the cave. A black treasure was shrouded in it. The shape of the treasure was like a conch. It was dark and covered with thunder patterns. It emitted an aura of eternal immortality and heavenly destruction. It was a primordial heavenly treasure. Su Fong asked in surprise, Lord Realm Spirit, the trump card of the Rei Zegu people you mentioned is this primordial heavenly treasure. That's right, but not all of it. Spirit smiled embarrassedly. Su Fong suddenly asked, Prince Su Fong, you should know about the three supreme royal families, right? Fong nodded and said, I know a little. This time, the one who presided over the meeting of the Eternal Shrine is an undying warrior from the Golden Horn race. Realm Spirit then asked, Prince Su Fong, do you know why the three supreme royal families are above the other races? Fong answered without hesitation. Naturally, it's because the three supreme royal families are strong as a whole. They are above the other races. It's not just because of their strength. The reason why the three supreme royal families are above the other races is not just because of their overall strength, but also because of their origin. Fong asked in surprise, what's the origin of the three supreme royal families? Spirit continued to explain to Su Fong. The reason why the three great royal clans are able to reign above all other races is because their progenitors are the embodiment of the will of the heavenly Tao. The three great royal clans are actually the representatives of the will of the heavenly Tao in the chaos. Su Fong Dao was shocked. The representatives of the will of heavenly Tao? The ethereal will of heavenly Tao also has its own will. The ancestors of the three supreme royal families represent the will of heavenly Tao, life, destruction, and punishment. The ancestor of the Golden Horn race that Prince Su Fong saw is the incarnation of the will of heavenly Tao. I see, Su Fong said. Fong was enlightened. No wonder the three supreme royal families are above the other races.